level is currently somewhere about $127,200.
Senor, give me 1 second, just real quick. I just want to welcome everybody in my channel from the United States, because I tell you guys that I should bring you on to these fucking lives where these geniuses are showing you how to make some money on Bitcoin and other shit. So here we are. We're live, just so you know, and now we're going to cut back into Farhan and then Alex so they can give us their analysis. We're starting with Bitcoin, just so you all know. And then afterwards, when they're done, I translate everything in Spanish. So you got to be patient for like 10, 15 minutes, and then we get back to English. So yeah, sorry, sir. Go on.
All right. So now momentum on the 4 hour is about to enter back into the bullish control zone with that hidden bullish divergence currently confirmed, and volatility is now expanding. On the jewel, we are currently losing the sell signal, flipping over into a neutral signal, and your jewel is now also taking out the previous 4 hour low, giving you hidden bullish divergence on the jewel. If you were to continue to where we topped out over here at this 88.3%, that would take us to a price of somewhere around $129,000 roughly. So getting closer to that $130,000 number. And that one will come up more accurately on the RSI whenever we finish with the HPTR. Let's go into the 2-day. 2-day is now approaching the 78.6%. That level is that same $128,000 area with momentum into the bullish control zone and volatility now expanding to support it. And the 2-day jewel is now giving you a buy signal with 2 periods of a buy signal and very close to entering into the bullish control zone. And you're getting a little bit of an inverse head and shoulders right over here on the jewel, and they are a little bit more accurate in playing out on the oscillators and than price action. Likely, probably giving you targeting somewhere around that 88.3%, to be honest, with the bullish setup on the jewel. 88.3% is slightly higher than $130,000, but this level probably updates because it's likely not going to do it the next day in 11 hours. 5 days also getting over the 38.2% now with momentum still pointed to the upside. Last time we got a close over the 38.2% was, it's been a while, all the way back over here in May of 2025. That was the last close over the 38.2%, and that took us to around from 104 to current all-time highs right now. And right now, if you were to look somewhere around the 61.8%, that brings us slightly over the $130,000 low at $131,000. Last time, 61.8%. What did it give any resistance? Kind of front ran it slightly, but then it smashed right through and went to the 78.6%. And that level is currently at about 142,000. There's any divergence present on the 5-day higher low. This is 111,000, and what is this low? 19. So this is a lower low on price with a higher low on momentum, giving you 5-day regular bullish divergence, which confirmed on this close here. And since the divergence has confirmed, we have gone up, let's see, about 4.47%. And the 5-day is now giving you a fresh buy on the jewel, the light blue on the oscillator. Let's switch into the index, and then we will go to weekly. Weekly is now getting over the median after opening above it from the previous candle, rejecting it. It would have been bearish if we rejected it and we opened above it, but since we opened, if we opened below it, but since we opened above it, what ended up playing out is we're using it as a spring upwards to the top 38.2%, which right now is at about $144,000. Very interesting to see this at 144, considering we just saw 142, and getting a close over the median, because right now we haven't gotten the close over the median that gives us the probabilities, but getting the close over the median will give you that 61.8% probability of going to this top 38.2% at that 144,700. Right now, weekly is starting to flip back up, getting back over this reset zone with volatility sitting at extreme lows, and the weekly is now giving you that buy just like the 5 days. Going to the 2-week. Two-week is now starting to expand off of that 9 EMA, approaching this median with momentum freshly flipped back up and volatility now sitting at extreme lows. 2-week is giving you that bearish signal on the jewel with that dark blue, but that's very, very likely going to invalidate, assuming you get a close over somewhere around 117,900, which we're a good amount over right now, and that'll give us probabilities of going towards that median, which right now median is at $133,000. Interesting. We just saw 133 just a little while ago. My meme line's at 130. Monthly is currently also flipped to the upside, with volatility now sitting at extreme lows, almost at 0%, sitting at 2%. And the monthly is giving you 2 periods of a buy signal around the jewel. Monthly is approaching the median. Median's at around $127,000. So that is going to be a very significant level of resistance for at the very least the first tap around at that right around 127,000. That's very good, good to know, because the small little longs that I do have on BTCC, I think I'm probably going to cut my TP from 130 to 127 now that I see that that's the monthly median. Got to respect the monthly median. Whether I do think we're going to go higher than 127, but likely going to reject that the first tap around. And being on a 25x, I don't want to wait and see how much that rejection is. Let's go to RSI. Monthly still has active hidden bearish divergence on Tether, and we are getting another drive currently present, and that will confirm with any close below about 4.19%. And currently that will give us a target of this monthly 100 EMA at 3.5%. Weekly currently has confirmed a fresh drive of bearish divergence with volatility at 3 periods of 0%, and that will confirm that will invalidate with any close over 4.74%. Currently, the target of that bearish divergence, we're already at the easy one, which is the bearish control zone, and volatility is still sitting at 3 periods. So I would be looking at somewhere around the critical zone, and that level will update. But right now, it's sitting at 2.05%. If Tether actually did go to 2.05%, that would be 50% down on Tether right now, which correlates to somewhere around 75% to 100% up on Bitcoin, which is why I don't think we're going to go to somewhere around 2%. Maybe somewhere around high twos, low threes, but I don't think that low on the twos. And that would correlate with somewhere around Bitcoin at like maybe 150 or 160. Going to 2% on this would take Bitcoin over $200,000. I mean, it's possible, not impossible. 5-day currently has active 3 drives of hidden bearish divergence. Target right now is going to be the bearish control zone, and that level sits at 3.55%. Wonderful. That's exactly our monthly 100 EMA. 3-day nothing. 2-day nothing. 3-day nothing. 4-hour currently has multiple drives of hidden bearish divergence. This will be active as long as you're closing below 4.3%, and your next target is the critical zone, which right now is at 3.86%, slightly above that 100. And you're now getting 4-hour volatility expansion with the hidden bearish divergence. Now we'll go to Bitcoin. Let's go to the daily first. Daily currently still has that active hidden bullish divergence. Your next target is the critical zone. That level right now is at 128.9, slightly higher than where we are right now. 4-hour also has multiple drives of hidden bullish divergence. And currently we are now hitting the simple moving average, which is at 125.1. Next target is the critical zone. That level is at 131. Very nice. And 4 hours now getting volatility expansion with that hidden bullish divergence. Let's go a little bit lower. 2-hour also has multiple drives of hidden bullish divergence. Critical zone right now is at about 128.8. Hourly also has hidden bullish divergence. That one will target the critical zone. That one is at 126.5. You got hidden bullish divergences across the board, even on the 30-minute, and got 3 drives. That critical zone is at 125. We're going to get into the weeds. We're going to go down to the 15-minute. We might even check out the 1 second. 15 minutes, nothing there. That's an idea for a future for casino owners. Put the Bitcoin chart to the 1 second option only at 1000x leverage. Everybody will get liquidated. Probably better odds than risking or rigging blackjack, because they still have a chance of winning that. On 5 minute, you also have multiple drives of hidden bullish divergence. That one will target the critical zone. That is at same target of 126. Now let's go to the higher ones. 2-day has multiple drives of bullish divergence. That would still target the critical zone. That's at 135. 3-day, nothing. 5-day multiple drives of hidden bullish divergence with volatility now freshly expanding from multiple periods of 0%. You're currently at 12%, very close to firing off the volatility setup. We're going to get to that in the momentum chart. But that multiple drives of hidden bullish divergence with this volatility is very nice to see. And the next target on the divergence is the bullish control zone. That is at 132. Come on. 6-day also has multiple drives of hidden bullish divergence with a volatility setup. That one would have a target of the simple moving average and the bullish control zone. It's at about 130,000. Weekly also has now confirmed multiple drives of hidden bullish divergence with volatility at 3 periods of 0%, and that will have a target of the critical zone, which right now is at a little high, 172. This level likely updates. That's a pretty massive girthy green dildo on the 2-week. 2-week is now putting in a fresh drive of hidden bullish divergence. This will confirm with any close over about 117,971, and that will give you a target of the critical zone, which right now is at 150, 154, or 152. My bad, dyslexia. And likely it does update in about 6 days, though. So wherever this level updates to on this close is going to be what our target is. Let's see how much this is up in this 2-week candle. This is 12%, not bad. And volatility is now sitting at extreme lows with that hidden bullish divergence appearing. Monthly still has that hidden bullish divergence after taking out this previous low, and momentum price made a higher low. It currently approaching the critical zone. Critical zone is at about 150,000. I like to see that it lines up with the previous target of 150. And we go to momentum. Monthly has volatility now sitting at extreme lows at about 7%, very close to approaching 0% now. And monthly is still flipped to the upside with hidden bullish divergence taking out this previous monthly momentum low, and price making a higher low. And you're going to be flipped up as long as you're closing over $114,600. Very nice to see this significantly below where price is right now, with volatility now sitting at extreme lows. So once this volatility starts expanding, you're going to see one of these type of moves, which is let's just measure out, see how much percentage wise it is. From this last volatility setup on the monthly, we went from here roughly 169% to the upside. Not bad, pretty good number right there. Let's see what the next one was. From here, this was about 559%. Not bad. Even if we don't take that 169% number, let's just take a very, very calm and tranquilo 69% number. That brings us to about $211,000. Okay, now let's do 30%, a lot more reasonable. That's about $163,000. Not bad. That's also a very high number. 2-week. 2-week also has volatility now at extreme lows at about 4%. Come on, 2-week is currently now freshly flipped up on, and it will remain flipped up as long as you're closing over $118,400. And 2-week is not getting over that mean line. Weekly also has volatility now with 3 periods of 0%, with momentum freshly flipping up, rejecting getting out of the bullish control zone, and you can be flipped up as long as you're closing over 115,750. 5-day also flipped up, getting out of the bearish control zone, and it's going to be flipped up as long as you're closing over 115,600. And 5-day is now very, very close to firing off this volatility setup. We need to see this volatility get over the 15% and then close, and that will confirm, which gives you an average move of about 25 to 30% in direction of momentum. And this does have roughly an 85% hit rate of playing out in direction of momentum. So if we were to assume it expands from somewhere around here and apply 25%, where likely it is going to be higher when it starts applying, when it starts expanding. And so this is being generous to assume it expands here. That brings us to about $160,000. If we were to take a 35% move, brings us to about $170,000. That previous number that we just saw before on the RSI was about 172,000. Very interesting. Today is also flipped up, maintaining the bullish control zone, and volatility is now expanding, giving that 2-day volatility setup that you mentioned in that last live stream, which is now continuing to play out. And you're going to be flipped up as long as you're closing over 112,300. And since that setup has fired off, how much have you gone up? Let's see. Actually, no, let's take it where it expanded. Okay, so from here, we are currently up about 11% so far, roughly, since the volatility expansion. And momentum, I mean, volatility is only at 55%. You can keep going. Daily is also flipped up, but volatility on the daily is getting a little extreme, getting around 94.4%. And you're going to remain flipped up as long as you're closing over $123,200. 4 hours now freshly flipped up with volatility now expanding, and you're maintaining the bullish control zone, and you're going to remain flipped up as long as you're closing over $123,600. Let's go down a little bit. Actually, go back to 4 hour. And if you look at the last time 4-hour momentum flipped back up, let's go back. It's right over here, and we went to new all-time highs off that momentum flipping back up. Over here, when we flip back up on the 4-hour with volatility support, we tapped our previous all-time highs. And now the significance of flipping up momentum here is that we took out this previous low, which and price made a higher low, giving you on a stochastic also 4-hour hidden bullish divergence, which confirmed on this previous close whenever momentum flipped back up. And with now you have that hidden bullish divergence with momentum flipped up and volatility supporting it, likely sending you up to that next target of somewhere around $127,000, which was on our RSI. And the invalidation for that would be, for the short-term move to 127, would be basically a tick below 122,339, and then you're likely going to come down to somewhere around this 55, somewhere around $119,300. Let's go back up. All right. So on the high time frames now, Bitcoin is kind of primed for some extreme busting action, with monthly getting a spring off of the 5 EMA, volatility sitting at extreme lows, ready to give you a volatility setup. You're getting volatility setups already firing off, like on the 2-day, 5-day is just about to fire off volatility setup at about 12-13% on volatility. Monthly currently has hidden bullish divergence with momentum flipped up. 2-week is now about to confirm hidden bullish divergence. Weekly already has, 5-day already has, and 2-day has regular bullish divergence. And momentum, like in-gap hidden bullish divergence, all the way down to the 30-minute. Regular, momentum is flipped up on every one of your time frames now, all the way down to the 4-hour, which is freshly flipped back up, giving me a short-term target of somewhere around $127,000 to $128,000, as long as you stay above about $122,000. As long as you stay above that level, ticking below there, then that invalidates that short-term move to 127. But based off of the 4-hour volatility setup, I do think you're going to go into somewhere around 127, 128 first before you get that pullback. And then very likely you do get some type of reaction around 127. 127 because that is the monthly median. Very high probability you're going to get a reaction there. Maybe somewhat of a pullback, maybe a few $1,000 pullback. I don't really expect that much though, based off of the higher term time frame volatility setups, which are going to be firing off at that point, and that would take us towards somewhere around $150,000 to maybe 160. The 150 would be the number that I would choose to be safe, and it lines up with a lot of the RSI divergence targets. And the invalidation right now would be for that would be basically, let's see, hitting a tick below about. I don't know if I want to use that low. That's quite low. Let's see if I can find another one. Yeah, I'd use this one right here, actually. Getting a tick below about 107,400, or a weekly close below about 108,700. And these wouldn't tell me that like it's going to zero or anything. Probably never going to zero, but now that I say that, maybe it'll go to zero. But it would just give me a target of somewhere around this 21 EMA on the 2-week, which is right now at about $103,000. The significance of going to that area is taking out this previous low, which then tells me you're likely going to be testing somewhere around low $100,000, maybe exactly $100,000. But you don't want to take out the previous the wick low of 98,330. Taking that out puts this entire rally into question, likely retesting somewhere around this $70,000 area. And in my confirmation for the bear market is going to be getting a monthly close below the 9 EMA. Where if you look at the monthly 9, that's sitting at about $106,000. So if you're going all the way down to around $70,000, very high probability you're going to close your monthly below that $106,000 area, getting you your close below your monthly, then confirming that the start of that bear market for me. But until you've gotten that close, I would still assume that we are not in a bear market. And on the low time frames with that volatility setup, I do think sooner like we're going to go higher rather before we see that pullback.
Very nice, very nice. Wasn't prepared. Cannot luckily have the excuse it's Monday. I do believe it's Monday. As you can see, we're not too well adjusted with the date here. But beautiful breakout on the daily. I will say, GG on bulls. Was not expecting an all-time high break. If we just go to the weekly here, we're just simply watching this area as a rejection high. Major selling pressure was done here. But now what we can see is, once we got the weekly above 123,000, you essentially have just been going in up only mode. Navigating back to the daily, you really can see just how funny the start of October has been. Almost just seems humorous. Just as soon as October started, you start off with a massive breakout, essentially leading to a new high. Now, for me, whenever you reach an all-time high, absolutely makes sense to be watching previous wick highs and really understanding that that is the last spot for bears to actually show up. Understanding that if they don't show up, it's just going to lead to continuation and upside. Now, after a higher high, really what's been occurring is you form a new high on Bitcoin ever so slightly, and then you come in for a macro higher low. You even saw it here where you ever so slightly form a new high, and then you come in for a macro higher low. Here as well, let me see. Right, if you're using this high, 2021, you ever so slightly form a new high, and then you form a macro higher low. So that's a good perspective at least to understand. We are just essentially in now price discovery mode, which is always fun. The levels that we were watching for at least potential rejection now need to be flipped into support. And at this current point, we still have massive volatility setups guiding our bias set. In all reality, if we do start expanding off of, let's say, the 5-day, weekly, and 2-week volatility setup at current price action, we really could start seeing a pretty extreme move to the upside, which would be actually quite a telling sign to me how extreme this upside move will be. Because really, towards the end of cycles, you do get extreme moves. They can be extreme moves down or extreme moves up. And so currently, it's looking like it is brewing an extreme move up.
Now, this perspective is nice because if you start really looking at the higher time frame, you're still potentially brewing a long setup here just simply based on the 2-week. Now, aggressive bulls are simply looking for an SR flip of essentially all-time high flipped into support. If consolidation occurs in this region, this will just simply look like the spot before you spring up. Easily can form a bull flag, consolidate before moving up, essentially flipping 123,300 into support on the higher time frame is exactly what bulls are going to try to do here. Now, what if we did end up making that, more macro higher low? What are the areas to be watching to really understand if, we're either going to pull back and maybe get a deeper pullback, and where could that deeper pullback occur if we get it? Well, it's still the same region that we're talking about. You, on your own chart, could draw a little meme line at $118,000 right in this region, right? And then you just have a lot of lines. But if you've been here, you know how well respected this range is. Using 118,000 to 116,000, still my same spot, for me makes sense to really be using that as the extremity low for Bitcoin. Because firstly, once you got that 5-day EMA 9, really girthy green candle to the upside, it did start activating a buy trigger, which in this area, you're still watching for that to get respected. If you end up closing this 5-day, coming down, losing $123,000 and falling back within this range, if you did make a move to 116,800, still would be looked at as quite bullish. Because if we just only look at the 5-day EMA 9, generally this is a good sign of continuation, can help kind of just, eliminate the noise and provide bulls an easy spot to long. You're super trending and breaking out to the upside, generally the 5-day EMA 9 will be an opportunity. You saw it here, beautiful 5-day green candle up, hit resistance, came down, and then you consolidated off the 5-day 9 before expansion. Now, very important here because really it just, again, eliminates noise and can really help you have a perspective on, okay, are we bullish? Yes. And where should I really be looking for an extremity low? Well, the 5-day 9, you see here, once you lose it, you do start getting more sell pressure. Lose it, you start selling off. Lose it, you sell off. And so even in the midst of price discovery mode, making a new high, taking out my stop loss on my short, I'm still playing what I know. I'm not having FOMO. I need to just get in. No. I understand. Now, if we're playing the all-time high SR, right, you just want an SR flip. What was resistance flip into support? Understand that it's just aggressive. So you need to then make the case on that getting closures above on a daily, that then lead into the 5-day, that then lead into the weekly, that possibly get that 2-week above this region. Getting a 2-week above an all-time high or just using a wick high generally is a continuation sign. So then you can just use that. This is closing in 6 days to at least help understand where to position and or if you should even start longing up here for continuation. For me now, just more data will be in bull's favor. You see here, you just have a simple median play on the 2-week. That gives you your $133,000 target. Very interesting target there because that also lines up with the area Farn was talking about on the daily. You can also see here, just simply taking out the all-time high would then start really signaling a move to the 78.6% on the daily. That's sitting closer to 132,200. Interesting. That's very close to that $133,000 target. You see the daily is in a breakout, and honestly, it's pretty lined up with the daily silver cross. You throw the 9, the 21, and the 55 on, you can just see you still are in daily silver cross posturing. And mind you, you haven't actually gotten the retest of that daily silver cross at all since it crossed. So there's 2 points on that just shows how strong bulls are in control here. But also, if you do end up getting a nice pullback in this region, Bitcoin absolutely can afford that. Usually the first tap of a daily EMA 9 on silver cross is generally strong. The most recent example would be in this region here where, yeah, you had pullbacks, but they did get bought up on the first tap. You get the silver cross, you then retest the 9. That at minimum gave you a 2% reaction, 2.3% reaction. I use that to just say, okay, well, that should at least give some reaction when it is lined up with the meme line. We know that's a major wick high, right in that 120,000, 121,000, but also just retesting the top side of the 38.2%. If a pullback does occur here, we'd be looking at that as bullish and potentially just resetting daily volatility, giving us potentially another daily setup, i.e. just a new high or that $133,000 region. Because now that you are having a new high on Bitcoin, for me, I was always watching potentially a rollover here, price divergence, and maybe that's not getting to that all-time high. But you have taken that out. So now we have to respect daily uptrend, weekly uptrend, 5-day uptrend, and even respecting the monthly higher low that bulls were able to grind out. Because being bullish here after these lows made sense. The only explanation at that point was an all-time high. So you've gotten that, but now we just need to see higher time frame closings above that. It's very simple. I'm personally not long, and after getting stopped out on my shorts, I'm just simply waiting. I don't really feel comfortable longing this close to an all-time high, but understand I quickly can start aggressively longing. It's just going to come in the back of more higher time frame closings above that all-time high, watching for an SR flip. Then I can maybe start talking about an aggressive long to $133,000. Because until then, I mean, you just are in daily higher high. You are in the extreme zone on volatility, and even on the HBDR view in this region, assuming you don't just break out from here, which again, that is the assumption. If you're longing, you just need to break out from here. You're not really looking for this. You don't want my bullish price consolidation scenario. You just simply want this to occur shallow, and you leave people like me in the dust, not being able to position here. Because if that doesn't occur and you don't just go up, yeah, you very easily can afford a pullback. Now that pullback's not going to be a under $120,000 move, in my opinion, but you very easily can retest a daily silver cross and move down 4%. Nothing of concern in this perspective at all, actually. So, if you're longing this SR flip and wanting that scenario to occur, you just need continuation. You just need now, bulls to actually get the contraction of volatility in the midst of Bitcoin going up can easily occur. But that is just what will need to, happen actually if you just want that 133,000 from this region. You have an argument for it. It definitely can happen, but after you get these higher high breaks on Bitcoin, really the flavor has been just let's majorly pull back once you get higher time frame closings. It's funny, even the last high you got on Bitcoin ever so slightly took it out, and then you just started to get a higher time frame pullback. Now, with what we know on volatility, it makes sense that this kind of price action has been occurring in the last 3 months. Specifically, when you look at the index on Bitcoin and you do look at the monthly BBWP, this is still very significant, right? This is still contracting, and it's still at the lowest read ever recorded in Bitcoin's history, telling you that, every move we've seen so far really is nothing compared to what's coming. Well, then use the 2-week and the weekly to gauge potentially if this is starting to break out, and it's not. The monthly and 2-week are still going down. The weekly even has 3 sessions of 0% volatility, which is interesting because you are technically just at an extreme low read. Breaking above the moving averages is a good sign, but still no confirmation above while you're under 15%. Now, the weekly median is an interesting perspective because, just simply here you see an easy target up to 144,000. Again, with 3 extreme reads of volatility, you're getting a measured move potentially of 18.7%. Now, what I can interpret with this is it's a great sign that the weekly median has shifted up to these wick highs. Again, that's just solidifying the aggressive bullish long idea, which is, yeah, as long as you do stay under that 123,000, in theory, you should just be expanding from here. This should just be the start of a major move up. But again, you just need to keep holding weekly closures above this region. You can even see here, you opened above the median, haven't really gotten much data or price action, while above it. You actually have been under it for quite a while, since August. So getting back above it while also breaking that all-time highs, again, just a bullish continuation sign. But you need to see more higher time frame closings, at least holding it. Because if we actually go and see, when you're staying under the weekly median, moving up, reclaiming it, you do often just get an easy move up to the top side of the 38.2%. Back in April, May, this was no different. You got back above the median. And as long as you just stayed above it in this scenario, you didn't even get a retest. Close to a retest, I will say. But you didn't even get a full retest before expanding. Simply that weekly median reclaim led to a 20% move up. Just essentially a free move up to the 38.2%. Accurately, up to that top side 38.2% was essentially 15%. Really not bad, honestly. Right? Under the weekly median, reclaimed it. So here's your green dildo. Here's one candle. Tried to test the weekly 9, stayed above the weekly median, and then you actually got the retest in confluence with that weekly, EMA 9. You got the median. That led to a very nice move up. Again, free move up to the top side of the 38.2%, giving you a 19% move in essentially a week. It's not bad. I will keep going, just looking at this. All right, you stayed under that weekly median, got the reclaim. You stayed above it. You see here that the meme line essentially held, and then you actually did get that breakout. But from that weekly median reclaim, again, just perspective, again, gave you a free move up to the 38.2%. This was a 15% move, but again, it did break out. So if you are longing and you're, wanting more upside continuation, it absolutely makes sense. And you still even have a setup that agrees with it. Anytime you stay under that median, you get back above, Bitcoin generally just gravitates to the next zone, which is 38.2%. And we saw in 2023 as well. This was a 12%, right? So these are all over 10% moves that generally are quick, and Bitcoin just very much so goes up straight to that 38.2%. Now, if you don't do that, lose the weekly median after this high, while then going back under that $118,000 region, losing $116,000, yeah, it would be very telling to me. That'll be our sign to be cautious. But as long as you are just simply holding in price discovery mode now, yeah, it makes more reason to be absolutely bullish. And there isn't FOMO here. I'm not really looking at 125 to 124,000 to be resistance. It seems like a lot more setup saying 133 to even that $145,000 region, potentially higher. Now, it can work on the, to the downside as well. You lose the median, you get aggressive moves down. So really what we can see in this perspective is Bitcoin is in bullish posturing, and even more so, you still are in the beginnings of this move. At least in this perspective, we know on the weekly, right? Because we just go back to the current situation we're in. Okay, well, we do know that the weekly just got freshly above its median. We know that we have just freshly are getting an SR flip, potentially flipping an all-time high into support. You do see that the top side of the 38.2% is right in that $144,000 region. Again, from median to the top side of the channel, that's an 18% move. From what we've seen so far, it's really not out of question to see that. But what we've seen is, yeah, it needs to be quite aggressive, generally just continuation after 2 to 3 weekly closures above the weekly median. So in theory, you should just be watching this zone for an easy, just light consolidation before a major spring up. Once you start moving up past right past $135,000, that's when things really do become interesting for me because, well, I mean, depending on where this monthly closes, could you start gearing up again for a really bullish November? Now, we won't know until we know, and even more so, you do see that monthly median's right in that $127,000 area. But just like with the 38.2%, this median will be just like a magnet for price, saying, yeah, I mean, you still even more just have about a 2% move if you're trying to be bearish here. There's really not an argument above an all-time high and really shifting things on that weekly. So, right, if you're not positioned bullish, I'd just simply be waiting for the weekly and 2-week closures. What we've seen before is once you get a 2-week, above a previous all-time high, you generally do just start moving up. Now, for me, we have a very easy area. We can easily just see you start holding the extremity low at $121,000. That'll be my long area if, let's say, we get that 2-week and 6 days above that zone. Because that'll just make sense. I'd want to see this area, which was resistance, flip into support before potentially going up. Even on the 2-week, you see the medians at $133,000. We did talk about that. That just lines up really nicely with Faron's daily target. So, I mean, you just have legitimate setups here now pointing to more upside. It's just, do you get the pullback first or do you just continue up? And so far, what we've seen with the weekly analysis is generally just keep continuing up. And you are getting that bi-monthly. You've taken out the bi-monthly evening star, and now you're just simply watching for a median retest. And that is in that $140,000 region. About a 13% move. I will say you've seen pretty interesting reactions off this median. Let's just really watch this. So you got to reclaim. You then lost it. This led to chop. You then rallied right up to the bi-monthly median. Couldn't get above. It then moved up. Price then followed. Couldn't get above. Rejected. Moved down. Consolidation. Chop. So now you're just moving up again. I do like that bi-monthly median because if you do get back above, I mean, this is your extreme, just in my opinion, blow off top scenario. But what we've seen is you really haven't been able to get back above that since you lost it in March 2024. So something to just watch as we approach higher, potentially spring off 123,000. This perspective, you really could just start moving up from the zone. And it's still, about a 13% move up. It's not bad. So for that perspective here, it's just going to really depend on the daily holding. If you just keep holding this region, I'm going to be looking at that as bullish. And you simply can gauge the daily silver cross to help position. You haven't retested the silver cross since you did cross. And so therefore, if you do get that, I'd be looking at that as potentially an opportunity zone. I mean, longing up here now, what's your stop loss? Well, you just simply have to use October 3rd's low, but with what we know with that daily silver cross, and easily can afford to pull back into that $120,000 region. Well, pretty aggressive here because if you're wrong, you're going to eat a 4% loss. I don't like really running stop losses higher than like 1.5%. That's just me. But if you're trading on a 5x, it's not really bad, I guess. And if you do trade on a 5x, it's good. It's not bad. Me, I like just cheeky 100x's. But then you have to have risk set. For me, though, if you were shorting, it was just all based on the high. Shorting as close to the high made sense. taking out that high, in my opinion, leave shorts with absolutely no bias here. If you then start deviating, falling back within this range, you can then start having an argument to maybe move down to $116,000. But just like last week, if that continues to hold, you will just keep seeing a new high on Bitcoin form. So really, if you are trying to be a bear, shorting up here doesn't make sense anymore. You need to be longing or close, or really watching that daily EMA9. And only really if you fall back under $121,000 on a weekly, lose the median, and start actually losing that weekly 9, you really aren't allowed to be aggressive shorting anymore. The 109K was a big spot. Personally, I wasn't expecting, the reaction here when we were calling for a move up. I was really looking for these ranges to be respected. This is the Wild West, and this is crypto. Once you did break back above $116,000, you have just been moving up simply. So, now we're in a new range. Bitcoin will form a new range. It's not just going to move up only. And that new range possibly is going to be formed off the back of maybe 121,000 to 123,000. And when you're at 125,000 on Bitcoin, you definitely can have a few $1,000 range here. But if you just continue to hold the zone, you should be looking at that as a continuation into potentially November. Because it's still the same idea. If we're going to start this bullish in October and really move up, then really you just need to keep sustaining this move. You do have a bull moon coming in, I believe, tomorrow, or is it today?
I think it's today.
Today. Okay, so then it's today. So you have a witch setup here. You can go, and just visually you can look at it: bear moon down, bull moon up.
Yeah, I saw it tonight.
Bull moon up, bear moon down. So you do have a bull moon setup. That doesn't mean you're just going to start moving down, but what that could mean is it could start exasperating this move up and potentially giving you a breakout towards that 133,000. So something to watch, right? Bulls have a lot of things now in their chest that says to me, yeah, from this region, you should move up. So if you don't start moving up and you start aggressively selling and you fall back under $118,000, that would be my starting point of, yeah, what's going on? Because why $118,000? Well, you'll be potentially breaking daily uptrend. You'll be, falling back under the daily 9, breaking back under the 38.2%, potentially just fully losing the silver grass. So until that happens, you just can't be bearish. You just can't be bearish here. But you also don't have to be aggressively longing this. So play what you know. A lot of things saying 121,000 should be the low. And if you do see a massive pullback, 4% pullback that just, unfortunately takes out aggressive longs, we'll all know, yeah, this is the spot we need to watch. You can see deviations down have been pretty detrimental to Bitcoin. So if it starts holding it, that's actually bullish. And then if you have that bull moon tonight, what we've seen, even if you are bullish off of a bull moon, right? So you had a bullish reaction, consolidation, bullish reaction, bull moon. It is just what starts kind of the breakout. Even here, you had, a nice bullish reaction. Bear moon didn't lead to much. Bull moon is really then what started the breakout.
But normally, and correct me if I'm wrong, and also Farhan, normally when you see the bull moon, for example, you already saw the top in most occasions, right? Like it just happened before.
No, generally, I mean, it's what, Farhan, after the bull moon, you get on average about a 7%.
The bull moons are the local bottoms, and then the bear moons are local tops.
Got it. So the blue ones are the bear.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So right now we're about to get a white one down here. Got it. Okay, understood. Thank you.
Yeah, and so when you do get the white ones, and at least in this perspective, when you are starting to move up, right? Because you're starting to move up here, but you're getting a bull moon. So then, aggressive bears will say, well, yeah, this is just front running that. Well, generally, when you are moving up and then you get a bull moon, that's when you get the breakout, you get the expansion. So, tying into the daily idea, if you just continue to hold this region, yeah, this is what could lead to the continuation. Now, I just still will say it is aggressive. It's quite aggressive, but have you even tested $121,000 yet? No, you
No.
technically haven't. Uh, even more so, you have that daily 9 there, and you haven't tested the silver cross yet. And you do have the 38.2% lined up. So, it's just if you get a 4% move down, it's still going to be looked at as bullish and really not bearish at all, as long as you are above 121,000. So if you have that bull moon tonight, you get a pullback today, tomorrow, or you don't. You don't have to. But if you do get a pullback here, just understand I'm going to be looking at that as my first spot to maybe position long on Bitcoin, because I know if that continues to hold, that leads to the 2-week closing above it. You very easily could just start seeing continuation throughout this month, and you actually then just get that very bullish monthly closure into November. Because if you end up not getting this green dildo into November, well, what will that would mean? Well, you've led to a wick high reduction, you've made a high, but unfortunately, you're just still within this range, which I don't want to happen because it's not fun. Even when you were making highs back in August, it just still felt like terrible price action because you're within a range. You're just popping up and then popping down, going up, and it just was like that all throughout here. So you want this 2-week to just simply close above this wick high. If you can close above this wick high, will be very good. And yeah, you can get continuation, and maybe even this monthly median will actually get a reclaim. Because really what I've tried to show is on the 2-week, monthly, and even a little bit on the weekly, you still aren't allowed to have massive FOMO on Bitcoin. Because are you even above the monthly median? No, you're not. And you've actually stayed under that since you lost it in February. All year you've been under it. So if you just start reclaiming it in November, yeah, that can be like a really good sign that you can just all start FOMO longing aggressively, degenning little college funds into Bitcoin essentially. But until then, I'm still watching very cautiously. I need to see this monthly candle close very bullishly. There should be no argument at all that we don't at least close above 121,000 into, going into November. And really, as I showed on the weekly, you are just going to get continuation off median reclaim. So you freshly got a median reclaim. We've at least seen off of these setups, you get 2 to 3 closures above. So you're on the first one. So ideally, just into this month, you just hold above here, and then maybe into November, you start really breaking out. And that's really it. I mean, you can just on your own chart on the weekly, just look at the median and just simply see the reactions there. I thought that was an interesting perspective because then at least can say, yeah, I mean, there's just no FOMO. You do get a free move up to the 38.2%. And that still is about an 18% move. If you catch a long that prints 15%, really doesn't matter what's happened here. You're catching the essentially meat of the move up. Let's check actually from 109s, how much we've gone up so far. Okay, so you've gone up 14%. So it still means that you have a setup that could take you higher than even what we've seen from the 109K lows. It's very important to just keep that in your head, so that way then it can, I guess, keep you grounded, at least for me. Because I want to be positioned on Bitcoin, but I don't want to be the last guy to show up to the party, especially after shorting into that. So it has to be rightly positioned. And so for me, it's just watching that median will really guide us. So let's go to Bitcoin dominance. Let's check the monthly. Okay. Yeah, so you're still just, in no man's land, holding above the 21, staying under the 9. You're still watching the monthly 9 to be hit, though. You're bullish on altcoins. It makes sense, and this is the right environment, in my opinion, to be bullish on altcoins, but it's just more a matter of timing, right? When's the right time to be bullish on alts? Well, in my opinion, all of this time since really started 2023, no time has been good for alts. Really, you've had little spur moments, but really, I mean, ETH just made a new high a few months ago in the midst of Bitcoin just absolutely going crazy for the last few years. Now, I mean, why hasn't it been a good time for alts? Well, because Bitcoin dominance is very bullish, very, very, very bullish. I mean, you have alt season calls here, alt season calls, alt season, alt season, alt season. But really, when you should be calling for alt season is when you start losing a monthly 9 in the midst of really something that's been holding this entire bull market. This is telling you, okay, something's occurring that you haven't seen before. And really, that's weakness for Bitcoin dominance, strength for ETH versus Bitcoin, in my opinion. Now, losing that monthly 9 is a big sign, because if some level like a monthly 9, and we know that's just an easy gauge, it's generally the macro spot where trending markets you like to at least higher low, and using it on a monthly, it's a big zone. So losing that, rejecting the EMA 100, and losing that, very telling sign that, yeah, bulls are losing control here. Now, the monthly, in my opinion, is in a downtrend. You had a major low that then made a high that then took out that low. So this is your lower low break. So really a move up shouldn't surprise you here. It's just the reaction when you get to that 60% is going to be very telling. You'll either rally up lower high and reject bigly from 60%. That's where you want to start positioning on altcoins. This is your alt season, quote unquote. I don't think you'll ever get an alt season like in the past before, I will say. But that's the argument. That's when you should start saying, yeah, it's an alt season. Or yeah, you'll get a monthly 9 reclaim. You'll pop back within this 38.2% range, get back above 59.7%, leading up to a move, closer to 62.2%. So until that reclaim happens, you need to be really watching that 60% region very carefully. As the time goes on, possibly in November, you will have this monthly 9 just continue to move down, telling you that, yeah, if you just slowly grind up here, it doesn't need to happen today, this week, or even this month. Can happen in November, December. But as long as just having that monthly 9 as your spot, it can help you kind of keep everything in perspective. Yes, Bitcoin dominance should move up. In the midst of this move up, I'm not really going to be looking for an ETH only rally. That wouldn't make sense, but more a Bitcoin driven rally. It's kind of what we're seeing. And then once you get up to that monthly 9, doesn't mean Bitcoin's going to roll over and ETH's going to go up insane. No, it could easily mean Bitcoin just consolidates. This is when certain altcoins, right, their Bitcoin pairing is strong, could start moving up. So still the idea, 60% is the spot. And right, if we're using a monthly, maybe, right, it's going to take too long. 25 days, still way too long. Specifically in crypto, that's like an eternity. So then you can just use the weekly to really figure out, okay, are we bullish or bearish? You're bearish when you're losing a weekly EMA 100. You're bullish when you get a spring off the meme line leading to a reclaim. This is a bullish reclaim. You just use, meme lines. That's a bullish reclaim. That's your throwback. And this is your spring. So you're now moving up. You've gotten a monthly 9 reclaim. And you're potentially in a weekly uptrend. Right? It should have been the lower high, lower low. You've taken out the lower high. So now you potentially are watching for a higher low. Now, usually what occurs is once you get like a nice monthly or weekly 9 reclaim, you do end up coming down, taking out some aggressive longs. That's where you do end up forming bullish structure. And you can really use the daily and 2-day to help you with that. So then, okay, weekly, we have that higher high, maybe a higher low. Where in the midst of here could we potentially find some kind of bullish reaction? We'll go to the daily here. Okay, so yeah, daily's in an uptrend. Let's go to the 2-day. It'll look better. Okay, and so what you see on the 2-day, I'll throw the 34 on. So you easily can find a resistance of 34. You would be looking at that. This is on the 2-day. I think the 2-day is nicer than the daily. A little more data, less chop. But you do see here that the 2-day just got back above the EMA 21, which is nice. And you see the nines touching each other, touching tips basically. Once that 9 crosses the 21, it's a good sign bulls are in control. So if you're gauging a pullback on the weekly, maybe you watch 58.8%. Ideally, that 2-day 9 continues to hold. As you've seen before, when you can't hold the 2-day 9, you do get downside continuation. So if the weekly shifting to an uptrend, the 2-day and daily are in an uptrend, ideally you just hold the higher lows. You just use this low as your spot, October 2nd's low. And so any pullback to that 58.8% should be respected. And you have an easy perspective on when are you going to break out on Bitcoin dominance. No, you just need to get back above the 2-day 34, and you'll start moving up to the weekly 100. Right? Hold the weekly 9, you'll move up to the weekly 21. That is sitting at the 60% region. Daily EMA 160% region as well. All while the monthly 9's at the 60.2% area. So, I mean, a lot of arguments on, you could this week start putting in weekly bullish structure, higher lowing it for maybe an end of month move up to 60%, where that should be looked at very carefully. You very easily could then, maybe at the end of this month, move up. You trap bulls because you aggressively move up, but you don't get the reclaim of the monthly 9. Maybe you don't even reclaim the meme line. And then, that's where you roll over. Just something to watch as we move along this month, in my opinion. Because this, no one's really talking about. And this is pretty important because this is like a big shift. We haven't seen this before, all bull markets. So this is important to really watch, especially if you're into Ethereum, into altcoins, and specifically when you're at that 366 region. And in my opinion, freshly potentially reclaiming it off the back of a daily volatility setup. We know how important 366 is. And here you're even getting potentially a price structure shift on the 2-day. Big moves occur off ETH once you get back above really the 2-day moving averages. And if you continue to hold it, you should just move up. So again, is there really FOMO in this market? Have I missed out? Or no, I mean, even ETH looks like it's potentially about to bust up. This is a massive range on Ethereum. ETH versus Bitcoin is potentially opening up into a 26% range. People look at the ranges and scoff. It worked out pretty nicely here when ETH is going parabolic, and also here. And ETH going parabolic. So if you are potentially, becoming bullish on Ethereum, and you are holding the 366 and it lines up with maybe your Bitcoin dominance monthly idea, I do think potentially some ETH trades could be had here soon. This range has worked out nicely. You have just seen busting action moves up. This is our most common one. This is your alt season. This is what every person refers to on alt season. But what was the price action on ETH BTC? Well, it was a breakout. It was, lots of FOMO. It was an aggressive smackdown. 366 held. And that's then when you could start moving up. This perspective is what was guiding me on, we're going to get a pullback on ETH BTC. So if you come back to where we're at, you had the breakout, the green dildo party. I remember this. ETH $5,000 calls were all here. So then it just made a lot of sense to come all the way down, retest, and then spring. So it looks like potentially we're gearing up for this kind of move. And that's quite nice potentially because, really this spot was, in my opinion, this spot. Let's see here, August 14th. If you just go back to ETH, August 14th, you can see, was it this low? Let me just go back here. Yeah, so it was that low. So really this spot, right, was the spot where Ethereum just started to go pretty insane. You went up almost 22%. So off of this spot here, this perspective. So when you're potentially getting back above major moving averages, holding 366, you know, really can mean that, yeah, you potentially are gearing up for a major move up. You know, this is off the assumption you get continuation and nothing crazy, like no major dump on Bitcoin. 23%. Let's just see here. Just real fast, 5,700. Look at that, your fresh 5-day setup here, median reclaim, and that takes you to a new high. So that's ETH-BTC using Bitcoin dominance. I do think it's, you know, still the environment potentially to be bullish on alts. Again, it's just timing is key here. Timing is very important. And so far, it's kind of playing nicely and setting up nicely for, well, maybe a major move on Ethereum here soon. But watch the 2-day. Price structure shift will be important. Nice. We're at 420, 4.2%. Let's watch this. Go back to here. Go to the 5-day. So we're looking at this inverse head and shoulders. You had to move up, but resistance did what resistance did. It looks like it's reverting down. You potentially are about to invalidate it. This will then just start giving you the opposite move down. So if you want it up, you have to start breaking down. So if you start breaking down here, what are some targets and what can we start looking at? If it wants to load, let me delete this. Oh. Okay. Very easily, I mean, you can just see, we were still using, what was it? Boom, 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 boom. So yeah, we're still using September 8th low. So September 8th low is still major. Have we taken that out? Okay, yeah, you've taken out September 8th low. That's a big spot. Because for me, once you take that out, yeah, you're going to start moving down to 4%. So I do think you're just really starting to see that. Yeah, you're holding a little bit of support, but that's why using these levels are important because, well, bulls can't really hold. And they've missed the mark. They were supposed to defend this low, higher high, higher low to breakout. You've now shifted back into a fresh weekly downtrend, all while brewing a potential breakdown all the way down to that 3.99%. 3.99%. It's more accurate. Ooh, not good. You can even see here. I mean, the monthly loses that 88.3%. These will shift, obviously. Yeah, I mean, just more argument on why you potentially are going to hit that monthly EMA 100. Now, this is interesting because you've never hit this monthly EMA 100 before. That is also lining up with the essentially extreme reads on HBDR on the monthly chart, which is actually interesting. You can see once you get into that extreme read zone on the monthly, you do get pretty big moves up. Extreme read, boom. I mean, here you went to the gutter. Okay, it's not very relevant. As you keep going, it's just going to start becoming less accurate. We'll focus here. Extreme read, major move up. Extreme read, move up. Okay. So, you know, it's just what you should be gauging when you reach a monthly EMA 100 for the first time is some reaction, right? But if that's the next target, that still means that you potentially have like a 15% move up minimum on Bitcoin. And you're also potentially about to take out all of these major lows, which I think is more represented on like the quarterly. Throw the rainbow chart off. Clean this up a bit, right? You start taking out these lows, that's going to be an interesting shift. You can see here, these lows are very important, falling back under essentially that 3.79% has led to pretty dramatic drops on Bitcoin. Major drops on Bitcoin. I mean, just look at price action here. You rally up, you don't get back above 3.79. And in this 3-month candle, you move down 36% before moving up. That's insane. Here, you lose support, rally up, you move all the way down. Again, 35% down. And then you move up. Insane range on Bitcoin. So if you start breaking down, losing these lows, you could just start seeing a very aggressive move down. You've seen it before in this region. This would be like a blow off top scenario on Bitcoin. This would be your extreme move up on Bitcoin, all while this just starts capitulating down. But I'll still talk about what we know. We have a quarterly 34. That is the next target as long as you stay under the 21. Let's see just how far that's away. Okay, so that's again like right in that 15%. Really nice with that. Lines up really nicely with that monthly EMA 100. Not really getting much there. Let's just go to the monthly. Oh, so you can just see, I mean, this is important, this price action here. Like, this is like very insane price action on Bitcoin. Because you're just like monthly deviations, bearish retest to just capitulations. Deviations, bearish retest to capitulations. And then just here, this is resistance. It's pretty massive stuff here. And really, wouldn't you expect that on a really extremity low that's been holding since March 2024? Yeah, you would expect a major reaction once losing that. For now, we'll just trade what we know. Once losing that, probably gives you about a 7% move. Again, to that quarterly 34, monthly EMA 100. But like, yeah, if that doesn't hold, I guess just more fuel to why you could be potentially seeing that 2.5%. Pretty insane. And if people will look at this SMA 200 and say, well, okay, more likely to bounce, but I say you already got the bounce. It is support, but this just gives me confidence that if you get 2 weeks under 3.79%, yeah, just more data on why this is about to dump hard. Because that'll just be the first time you've lost it on a 2 week. It's major on any chart, an SMA 200 on a 2 week. Yeah, losing that just really solidifies the weakness here. So you can use that as your confirmation. Lose this SMA 200 on the 2 week. You most likely are going to then just start capitulating. And so then I can start using this. And if you start losing that before 3.79%, that could be your like front running idea potentially, because you're really not allowed to be bullish if you start losing an SMA 200 on the 2 week. That's never occurred before ever. Just not allowed to really be bullish on that. Let's check the weekly SMA 200 reaction. Here it is right there. You lost it for the first time. Yeah. So did you need to just wait for this to tell you it was going to break down? No. You can't be bullish if you're losing a weekly SMA 200. That then led to a 26% move down. Pretty insane. So let's just use the same idea, go to a 2 week and yeah, just use that idea. So that's, Tether dominance, using Bitcoin dominance while in confluence with ETH BTC. For me though, trading Bitcoin, I'm just sitting on my hands. I want to just see more data here. And if we are going to break out, I'm fully okay with that. It's perfectly okay. But then I'm just going to be using 121 as my long spot in confluence with the daily silver cross. No need to overcomplicate it. when you're super bullish, super trending, you can just be that simple. You have not tested the daily silver cross since it occurred. So that can tell you that this is a big zone. And really, the more days that you close above 123,000, the more likely this daily 9 is going to move into that all-time high zone. And that's just going to solidify your spring scenario. Don't get blindsided though here. You absolutely can move down like 4, 5, 3% from here. And very easily test a daily 9, daily silver cross, get a higher low, and maybe even shut off daily volatility before breaking out. Doesn't need to just keep breaking out. This price action, yes, is bullish. Took out my short, you made a new high. But the big statement there is you made a new high. So anything can happen at this point. You have a macro high in. And what we've seen before is you get a shallow higher high that leads to a macro higher low, which then means to us that, yeah, you generally do get pretty big moves, if not major consolidation periods, after you get a higher high. It can literally be just an even ever so slightly higher high before getting a pullback. The last 2 times have seen that here and here. So doesn't mean that's going to happen. And, even us identifying that can be a telling sign in itself that, maybe traders are getting used to this. Maybe shorts are getting used to it. Let's not short. Let's just wait for the high, open shorts and print. Let's not short. Let's just wait for the high, open shorts and print. It's been working, but volatility is still what we've been saying for months, like a ball underwater, heavily compressed. Anything can happen. And I know how this market is. It likes to make you think that you know everything. And once you get trend and complacency, it's a good time to just start going extreme. So use 121,000 as your spot. If you're going to be bullish and take that aggressive SR long, then it just needs to line up with the 2-week and weekly. More closures on the daily lead into like the 3-day, 5-day closing, which then lead into that weekly, which just gives you more confluence that, yeah, you get that 2-week above specifically 123,300, you're going to start just breaking out. And that could be the start of maybe a new extreme high, a new range, right? Once you get up to that 133 to like maybe up here, you could easily just form a new range and move up. You should be always looking for this. A new range is forming on Bitcoin though. And the sooner we identify it, the better it will be for all of us. That's just what happens. We just range, and when you break out, you generally just form a new range, break out, form a new range. And so it's up to us to identify that. But still, this is not telling me that you're really looking for any kind of pullback scenario for a short. You're just watching to see maybe that long idea on the weekly, confluence with the 5-day, doesn't change with volatility. Last week we were saying, yeah, if you get a pullback here, you need to watch for that 5-day 9. And so it's the same idea. If you get a pullback here, you need to just watch what you know, and that's just going to come with the 5-day and weekly. So can't be bearish though. And really this entire bull market, you've seen a 5-day 9 hold, and then you get major moves off of it. So should be no different even in the midst of a new all-time high.
Excelente, senor. Can I show you some fuel for hopium for the bears, for the shorts? Yeah. Remember this line, the green one that's here?
Imagine.
You just tapped it.
Imagine you just like dump 15% off that green line. And honestly, I would not be surprised at all. It was just like one green line. And that's funny because like even on your perspective there, though, you lose that 123,300 to like that 121. You're just going to be back within that range. And then you can make maybe an argument to go down. But just holding it, yeah, you got to look for longs in that region. So if you're trying to short, you're just now waiting for a deviation play.
Basically,
short. That's it.
Exactly. You're hoping that this really rejects right here because this was a bearish retest, and then you went down, came back up here, came down, and then went back and really tested it, which I wasn't thinking that you would. I thought you were going to stop right here on this channel, but you did. And once you retested, now you're coming down here. And like you're saying, like that really wrong with me. What you were saying about, You know, we all try to short here, and it didn't work out. And now shorts are like, all right, I'm going to go long. I literally was just thinking about that as you were saying it. And I'm like, fuck, my psychology is exactly what you're describing. So
yeah, because same. I mean, I was publicly shorting. I had size on it. Was wrong. That's why we use stop losses. Perfectly okay. It's just not okay to stay wrong. And so I'm not going to now just start longing with bulls at $125,000 when we're 4% away from a daily EMA 9. It's just better to just wait. More data will help me with that. So, because that won't be fun. Imagine just shorting, getting stopped out on pretty good size. I had over 10 Bitcoin on the short. And then you go long, and then you just get like a daily 9 retest, and it takes you out. It'd just be stupid.
That's like when you're at the airport and your line is going really slow and the next one's going real fast, and then you jump in that one and then the other one starts going fast.
That happens to me every time. Every time.
Me too. Me
too.
That's funny.
Oh, the other thing that I wanted to note was this right here, the 123,300, this meme line. Your close on this candle was 123,365. Your close on this candle 123,520. So this close was lower than this one. So this could be an identical scenario like this one.
Yeah, you just need the deviation.
Yep.
And that's it. Because that's it, really. Like, again, if you're bearish, it's okay. You just can't short here. So you just need the deviation to short. Even losing that 123,300 is probably right where like the 5 is.
Yeah.
You know, that's aggressive short. But really, just wait for 121,000. That's just right back within the range. Target 118 to 116. And there you potentially get your weekly 5-day setup. You're either going to retest it and expand or break down, and that was at least a local top that leads to a macro higher low.
To me, the other things that are wild is you're getting all like this fucking gigantic girthy green candle along with follow up on the next one on the weekly, and volatility hasn't like even thought about like doing anything.
No, budging, even the 2-week, 5-day, and monthly, it's just not moving still. And even the monthly and 2-week are lower. So,
yeah, this is not the big move yet. Whether it's going to be to the upside or the downside, it's not here. And even quarterly, still pointing down underneath the average, which is interesting.
Yeah,
and
so, that's why I try to hit home on that. Like, if people are feeling FOMO, like they just missed out, or maybe they were shorting and they just stopped out, there really is still no FOMO in this market. ETH is still potentially lining up. If we're going to break out, Bitcoin is, and all of those volatility setups we've been talking about for months are still brewing. Oh, wow. And look at Sol, just right up against that resistance.
It's still fighting here. But the thing is, Bitcoin went up. So that means we're going to see there's obviously two scenarios, and obviously both scenarios explain all possibilities, basically, right? You're either going to see Bitcoin go up, continue to go up, and then the dominance of Bitcoin dominance is going to continue to skyrocket, and alts literally just topped out, because look at Solana while Bitcoin is all-time highs, right? Look at Ethereum while Bitcoin is all-time highs, kind of like waiting right here. This is actually a great meme line.
That's
right here. So Solana and Ethereum are kind of in the same place, but Bitcoin is right here. So the question is, are we going to see Bitcoin dominance explode to the upside, Bitcoin go up, price continues, but alts are going to take a break now again, or alts are right behind Bitcoin? This was the top on Bitcoin, and now it's going to be Solana's and Ethereum's turn to blow the fuck up.
Yeah, and that's why I try to do Bitcoin dominance a little longer today. Because for me, it's like exactly that. Like, you're either going to go up a little more on Bitcoin, hit that monthly 9 on Bitcoin dominance, and then that's when alts are going to do well. And what we see on ETH BTC is it's still right on that 366, 5 days potentially about to give you a setup, 2 days about to be in a buy trigger, price structure shift. So that's why with alt, it's just timing. And still, it's not the right time yet. You got to just wait till 60% on Bitcoin dominance.
And the
So,
ETH BTC one could be doing a bearish retest and now rejecting, and probably it has a chance of coming down here. It's below the 21 on the monthly.
so it already hit. Is that your monthly 9? Did it
This
already
is
hit it
my
on
monthly
Binance?
9 is down here on ETH BTC.
Oh, I'm probably thinking of a different
You're thinking of
chart.
Bitcoin dominance. So
Yeah,
look,
yeah. No,
this
you're
is
right.
basically since November, obviously August 2015, Ethereum, Bitcoin. Then you have top, and then it's just been coming down here. You got your silver cross to the downside, down. You touch this meme line for the first time ever, and then literally bounce up. But you're doing a bearish retest of this.
Right on that 21. I remember that now. While holding the 9. So it just honestly the monthly is tricky. Could go up, could not. Also,
Yeah, of course, fucking dicks.
it's fucky. That's why I use the weekly. And so the weekly to me, it's just you just simply have to hold. You got to get above the weekly EMA 100. And so if you're not above that, yeah, you potentially are in a bearish retest right now. Weekly EMA 100 is pretty important on these pairs like ETH BTC, Bitcoin dominance. Really, off the back of losing that was the start of a major move down on ETH BTC. So it's kind of tricky, still tricky for me.
It's a very tricky spot. Now, 4-hour volatility banging up. I think price is going up with it. 1 second right here. Yep. Could be a good spot for this. Could be a good long unless volatility. Oh, it continued to go up. Its price going up. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it could be a Tomasito long 500x just right now. Take a small move and get the fuck out.
What's interesting too is even the 12-hour hasn't hit the 9. And so if you get any kind of pullback, you need to be watching your moving averages because the daily and 12-hour are just like you haven't hit even a 12-hour 9, which is like your long zone on that system. So it's like it just shows you how in control bulls are, honestly.
Oh yeah. Strong.
Oh yeah.
2-hour too. Volatility set up with a move up. 1 hour, of course. Same. So there's that. All right. Thank you, sirs. Much appreciated. Next, Intel and then MPW. I think it's the waste management company, MPW. Fuck is MPW? The medical properties. Boom. Oh my God. Look at this. Beauty. I love opening charts and going like, this is what's going to happen. And then he does.
It does do it.
Wow. Here they are. Medical properties. Okay. Intel and that one. And then we'll do Coinbase, but that's after. Thank you, sirs. Much appreciated. And then for everyone listening right now in English, we're going to get back in a second. I'm going to do this in Espanol and explain it to everybody in Spanish. My job is just to translate this shit. I'm just an idiot. These guys know what they're doing. So just so you guys know, you already heard everything. Ok, estamos empezando con los Bitcoin. Esto es interesante para mí, esta tabla en el gráfico diario de Bitcoin. La voy a poner en el semanal para ahorrarme un poco el pedo. Y la razón por la que lo digo es esto. Acá en mi tabla semanal pueden ver, tengo esta línea meme que viene desde acá, desde febrero del 2025, cruza todo por acá, aquí tuvimos un SFP y luego tuvimos por fin la caída. Esto podría ser el retesteo bajista, si es que rechaza, o la zona de breakout. Estás justo en medio de las dos cosas. Eso quiere decir que estás a punto de ver si esto va a dar continuación a la alza, tener un nuevo máximo histórico que estamos literalmente a nada, a $500, o si vas a tener un rechazo de la línea meme. En realidad la línea meme está más alto que el alto histórico, debería ser por ahí de los 126,500 el rechazo, y si te rechaza esta línea, deberías de poder llevarte estos mínimos en 107. ¿Por qué? Porque, pues, güey, alto, bajo, alto, bajo, alto, y después que tienes este tipo de rechazos acá arriba, tienes un movimiento contrario. Ahora, ¿se va a dar o no? Vamos a ver. Por ahora lo que estamos viendo y lo que estamos diciendo es, este es el cierre semanal más grande de toda la historia en Bitcoin, pero en la diaria, por ejemplo, nunca tuvimos un cierre más alto que este. El cierre de acá fue en 123,365. El cierre de acá de ayer fue en 123,520. Para mí que estaba en corto, dije, el primer cierre diario arriba de 123, me tengo que salir y eso fue ayer, acá. Eso fue, si no te llevaste, si no te dio, una vez que bajó a 119, vendiste, te hubiera ido muy bien, de todas maneras ahí ya tenías unas excelentes ganancias, pero si no, el 123 ocurre y te sales, como sea. Esto fue lo que ocurrió. Ahorita estoy yo personalmente viendo para dónde va a ser el movimiento. Recuerden que cuando tradeas, lo que quieres hacer es ir al movimiento, esperar a que esto de un movimiento, ya sea para acá o para acá, y tú entrar o acá, ¿ok? Y esto también lo puede dar, este movimiento que vengas a retestear una vez más los 123,200 y continuar para arriba. No te vas a meter acá donde estás, no lo vas a hacer. Lo único que tienes aquí es un corto con una eliminación sencilla, pero el problema de esto es que vean lo que le gusta hacer a Bitcoin. Veo y voy a hacer un corto acá y luego te mete un nuevo alto y te manda a la verga. Eso es lo que le gusta hacer a Bitcoin, como siempre que les digo. Me gusta ver cuando Bitcoin consolida para abajo, porque eso es alcista. Cuando consolida para arriba es bajista. Ahora, hemos tenido una gran serie de banderas, de velas verdes, y vamos a ver hasta dónde nos lleva. Por ahora estamos viendo esta zona de los 123, 273 como la zona de interés. Queremos ver qué es lo que va a pasar acá arriba, pero empecemos desde el principio. Trimestral, un gráfico trimestral con velas de 3 meses cada una. Recuerden lo importante de lo que hemos estado platicando. Esto claramente está en una tendencia alcista, sin lugar a dudas. Altos, altos más altos, altos más altos, altos más altos por toda la tabla, junto con bajos más altos por toda la tabla. Estás muy por encima de tu promedio del 5, promedio de las 9 sesiones, del 21 y del 34. Pero tu volatilidad, y esto es lo que yo tengo un ojo pendiente a, es cada que tenemos, recuerden, esto es el indicador de volatilidad que usamos que se llama BBWP. Es gratis, está en los indicadores acá, BBWP. Cada que ves volatilidad bajar en esta tabla, el precio de Bitcoin lo acompaña. ¿Ok? Cada que ves volatilidad llegar a este fondo, el precio de Bitcoin toca fondo y sube junto con la volatilidad. Esto fue la más reciente, solamente para que lo tengan en mente. Esto fue julio del 2020. ¿Qué pasó después de julio del 2020? El mercado se fue hasta máximos históricos hasta el 2021. ¿Qué pasó acá? En octubre del 2023, el setup de Hamas, lo que nos llevó de 25, 28 mil dólares hasta 125, que es donde estamos ahorita. Y ahora la volatilidad de Bitcoin está por primera vez apuntando para abajo y debajo del promedio. Esto lleva o sea, cada vez que sube, la volatilidad ha subido y cada vez que ha bajado el precio. Entonces, esto tiene un 100% de hit rate hasta ahorita. Le ha dado 100% todas las veces. Por eso es importante mantener un ojo acá. La cosa es, todavía faltan 2 meses y 24 días para cerrar este pedo. ¿Ok? No va a pasar de la noche a la mañana, para que lo tengan presente. Con eso dicho, vamos a ver rápidamente los niveles, pero con el HPDR, aunque en la trimestral son un poco payasísimos, pero lo vamos a hacer. ¿Cómo de que no? Tenemos que ponerle caldo, tenemos que ponerle crema a estos tacos, ¿no? Si todo el mundo lo está haciendo, yo también. Aquí es muy importante esto, este 127,688, y lo voy a apuntar acá, porque esa es la entrada a la zona azul. Entrando en la zona azul, si fuera yo a seguir el modelo del HPDR, debería poder llevarnos a la media 233. Entonces, para mí aquí yo empiezo a construir un caso, ¿no? Mi parte baja de la zona azul en 127,688. Importante apuntarlo. Arriba, y voy a poner arriba, me lleva a los 233,000. 33K, ¿ok? En la de 3 meses. ¿Por qué lo anoto? Quiero ver qué tantos números de estos aparecen, porque esto debería ser resistencia. Ahora, este tipo de resistencia en la zona azul, por ejemplo, cuando vas entrando a la zona azul, porque vean, venimos de la parte alta de la zona azul en la trimestral. Casi nunca subimos. Esta fue la única vez que lo hicimos en octubre del 2021 y antes en el 2017. Pero casi nunca te trepas y te llevas por encima la zona azul. Solamente la media está en 233. La parte alta de la zona azul está en 300. ¿Ok? La pregunta va a ser, ¿vamos a poder romper 127 cerrar por encima de esos 128, llamémoslos, para poder ir a los 233, o ese va a ser el tope. Esto es lo que nos tenemos que preguntar en este momento para buscar un trade. Es lo que estamos buscando. Me vale 39 kilómetros de pene si Bitcoin hace nuevo alto histórico o no, etcétera. Simplemente quiero ver dónde voy a apostar mi dinero. Vamos a la mensual. Mensual está cabrón porque estás por encima de la media. Esto quiere decir que deberíamos de tener más probabilidades de ir a los 145. 145 es la siguiente posibilidad, 612. Esta es la mensual. Ahora, de poder romper esto a la parte del 50% es a 156, ¿ok? $156,000. Pero algo interesante para mí es esto. Has tenido estos movimientos brutales a la alza y tu volatilidad mensual, güey, no, sigue en el punto más bajo de toda la historia de la tabla y además no, ni siquiera está pensando en moverse. Entonces, aquí hay que poner atención a eso. ¿Dónde está la media? En los 115. 115 de perder esa zona es cuando empezarías a ver objetivos a la baja. 2 semanas, una vez más, tienes el velón verde, pero tu volatilidad en la de 2 semanas está en el punto más bajo de toda la historia de la tabla de Bitcoin. Lo que te dice que mínimo hasta ahorita este movimiento que ha dado no es el movimiento fuerte. Y esto no quiere decir que tiene que ser a la baja. Esto simplemente te está diciendo que no. Todavía no te doy el velazo que tú estás esperando. ¿Dónde está nuestra media? Justamente en donde está la línea meme. Y estamos por encima de. Eso quiere decir que deberíamos de poder ir a los $150,000 en la de 2 semanas, que es la parte alta de la zona azul. Sería el siguiente objetivo. ¿Ok? En la de 2 semanas. Con volatilidad nula. Semanal. Semanal, vean, para arriba y para arriba. Y volatilidad, continuamos aquí abajo. Sin expansión de volatilidad en la semanal tampoco. Todavía no nos da el movimiento fuerte. Lo cabrón y que es bastante alcista es, esta semana abriste por encima de la media. Tu media acá está en $121,000, básicamente. Un poco abajo, pero pongamos $121,000. Deberías de acá tener más probabilidades de ir a los $136,000, que es la parte alta de la zona azul en la semanal. De perder la media en los 120, siguiente objetivo serían 118 y luego 115,700, que es tu promedio del 9. La de 5 días está a punto de empezar. Quiere empezar a mandar esta volatilidad, un cero de jamás, y aquí es donde tenemos que poner atención. Hasta que no pase la línea amarilla, meme, no cuenta esta subida. ¿Ok? Y acá, ¿qué tenemos en la parte alta de esto en la de 5 días? La parte alta de la zona azul está en $127,000. ¿Ok? Tal cual como la está en la 3 meses, la media. Ahora, de estos 127, el 50% está en 50. En $134,000. $134,000. Ok. Continúas en una tendencia alcista, abriste por arriba de la media, volatilidad está a punto de expandir, pero todavía está por debajo. No podemos contarlo y acuérdense que nos ha hecho ¿cuántas veces esta gatada? 1, 2 y después para abajo. Entonces, hasta que no veamos esto por arriba, confirmación y que continúe expandiendo por arriba el 26% ya en el movimiento, no podemos definitivamente darle ventaja. Acá la diaria. La diaria tuviste expansión de volatilidad que viene acompañando este movimiento a la alza. Ya estás llegando a extremos en la diaria, pero todavía tiene camino para arriba. Todavía tienes camino para arriba. Esperaría yo mínimo el 78.6% ser tocado. ¿Qué número es ese? Tan, taratán, $128,000. 128, 127, 127. Es el número que continúa y continúa apareciendo. Y ahora, el 88.3% está en los 133, que acompaña varios objetivos de 134, 133. ¿Ok? 12 horas. Extremos ya de volatilidad y ahora está contrayendo. Continúa subiendo. La parte siguiente, el próximo objetivo, 126,500. Y de ahí, $30,000 en la parte del 78.6%. 4 horas, tienes volatilidad expandiendo junto con la subida, lo puedes ver por acá perfectamente. Y esto nos debería de poder llevar mínimo al 61.8%, que está en 126, o hasta el 78.6%, una vez más, 128, y quieres mamarte con el 88.3%, 130, y el 95%, 134. Ok, simplificado, puesto sencillo para todos ustedes. Bitcoin está en una clara tendencia alcista. Acaba de hacer un máximo histórico relativo. No es. Antes los máximos históricos de Bitcoin eran una mamada porque era máximo tras máximo y eran números ridículos. Y ahora vean, pasamos 123, nos fuimos a 124, nos fuimos a 125. ¿Qué sigue? 126, ¿no? Han estado muy leves estos números. La gente se excita demasiado porque es Bitcoin y ahora la narrativa se está volviendo muy popular para todos, pero ha habido cosas en la bolsa que han dado muchos mejores retornos. No, y lo digo solamente por esto, para que no se los lleve el FOMO de corbata, ¿ok? ¿Qué es lo que sigue con Bitcoin? Siempre y cuando Bitcoin venga y retestee la zona de los 123, debería de poder dar, y no las pierda, debería de poder dar continuación y tengo mi primer objetivo en los 128, entre 127 y 128. Y de poder romper los 127 a 128, personalmente creo que 133 a 135 va a ser la zona donde encontremos el tope, pero estaría lloviendo elementos de volatilidad. Si llegamos a ese punto en los 133, 134 y la volatilidad mensual, la de 2 semanas, la semanal y hasta la de 5 días no está disparado para arriba, voy a pensar que entonces hay algo extraño y probablemente la volatilidad me dé el movimiento después y ese no sea el movimiento y esto sea simplemente el tope. Para abajo, ¿quieres perder? Ahora sí, esto es para los alcistas. Lo mejor que podrías hacer para un trade alcista es esperar a que venga esta línea, no meterte acá, esperarte a que venga los 123,300, meterte en un long y vámonos para arriba esperando a que no se lleve el mínimo de esta vela. Pero va a ser un juego sucio, cabrón. Yo esperaría esto y ya. La segunda opción es que llegues hasta los $121,000 para también hacer el mismo movimiento. Ese para mí es la última opción, porque vas a venir el promedio del 9, va a venir hasta acá arriba para que lo vengas a retestear. Pierdes el promedio del 9 cuando lo vengas a retestear, pierdes esta zona para abajo. Así de fácil. Eso quiere decir entradas para alcistas en 123,300, en 121, 120,900 y bajista abajo de esto. Abajo de 121,900. Tu siguiente rango en el canal son 117,500 y de ahí ya empieza a ponerte objetivos chidos 116,200, 110, etcétera. Pero ahí lo tienen, bastante sencillo. La dominancia de Bitcoin sigue haciendo lo que dijimos, está haciendo altos más altos y va probablemente a continuar a buscar estos 62%. Lo interesante ahorita que estamos viendo en la tabla de los Bitcoin, por ejemplo, es, tienes tu alto histórico en Bitcoin, pero Solana está atorado acá, pero Ethereum está atorado acá y la dominancia de Bitcoin está subiendo. La pregunta es, Bitcoin va a absorber una vez más la liquidez de todos los alts, la dominancia de Bitcoin va a subir y los alts van a caer en lo que Bitcoin se queda acá o continúa, o simplemente aquí es donde va a fallar esto, Bitcoin acaba de hacer tope y ahora le toca a Solana o Ethereum. Esto es, se los dejo a ustedes para que ustedes propiamente decidan qué es lo que va a pasar, pero es parte de lo que estamos viendo en estos momentos. Alrighty, señores, who's next? There's nobody here. There you go.
My bad. I quickly ran to take a pee. Let me switch my screen.
I have to put the computer down to charge it because the
There
plugs
you
will
go. I was like, excellent. I was so boring that even these guys left. Excellent.
No. I was just taking.
What do you got there? You're doing Intel?
Intel, yeah.
Oh.
The Intel
This
Corporation.
is the latest investment of Donald Trump.
It's doing really well. I gotta say, it's doing well. It's doing well.
It's
I
gonna
can't
do
hear the voice.
amazing. The U.S.
I can't
government
hear the voice.
invested everything in it. We're gonna love it. China did the same thing. It didn't work out too well for them. Ask Jack Ma. But we're different in the U.S.
Just a little different, a little special. So the quarterly on Intel had previously silver crossed as a downside, and now we are getting back above that 55 EMA. We have about 2 months and 26 days left to close before this does invalidate that cross, closing back over the 55. Uh, it, 3 months is quite a long time, so basically an eternity, but it is a stock, so it's going to move a little bit slower than a crypto, and it has closed back over that quarterly 100 EMA, which is very significant. So it doesn't necessarily say you are going to close over that 55. It's just higher probability based off of closing over also the 78.6 on the HPDR, which gives you probability of going back up to this bottom 38.2%, which would also invalidate the silver cross to the downside. But there's nothing really that's changed as long as you are closing one below this 38.2% and below this previous lower high. Closing below over this 38.2% is what takes you to the median, but also based off the HPDR rules, closing over 38.2% takes you eventually to this top 38.2%, and that would take you back over this previous lower high, which then makes this a real possibility to turn it into a reversal back to previous highs. But but mainly as long as you are below this 38.2%, this is just the area for another lower high in a series of lower highs and lower lows. And then eventually you would be testing somewhere around this 200 SMA next, assuming you get a rejection of some of this 38.2%, or you just don't even get to it, or you close below this silver cross. Right now, momentum is flipped to the upside on the quarterly with volatility contracting, and you are getting right now momentum making higher lows, with price making a lower low, giving you bullish divergence on the quarterly, and they did confirm on this previous quarterly close, which closed back over the 100 EMA. Right now, the quarterly jewel is losing the sell signal and flipping over into a neutral, and that's also giving you bullish divergence with the lower low on quarterly and on price, and higher low on the jewel. Monthly is getting momentum to the upside, but it's getting a little extreme with volatility expanding, also getting a little extreme. Not quite topped out just yet, though, with the jewel giving you a buy signal on the monthly. Close to getting also a pink above yellow. Not quite, maybe in one or two, probably two more opens before that does confirm. And the price is getting close to getting back over that, or confirming over the 100 EMA. Still got about 25 days left to go before close, and you're getting a little high, getting close to somewhere around the 88.3%. You want to ideally see a close somewhere over this to 100 EMA, and then get a back test of this 100, maybe the 200, and move from there while these HPTR ranges step up into somewhere around these previous highs at around $50. I wouldn't expect it to get break this previous $50 high as long as these ranges are somewhere in the 97.5%. I want to see a back test of this 200 SMA and 100 EMA after reclaiming them, and then in that time these HPDR ranges to step up, and then it would be more easy for price to go through these previous highs. Let's go into 2 weeks. 2 week is getting a little topped out on momentum and volatility, both at like 97%. Jewels entering into the bullish control zone, and we are getting a rejection of the 97.5% currently on the HPDR. So from here, I would expect, as long as we are closing below that area, a move down to retest somewhere around this 100 at around like $32, and then from there spring into that 200. And from while that happens, I'd want to see these ranges step up. Weekly is also at extremes on both momentum and volatility at 98%, and you're getting around the 97.5% on the HPDR. What likely happens from here, as long as you are below about 38.68, is you're probably going to get a move down somewhere around $32, which lines up with about this 200, and a little bit lower would be the 9, but it's going to rise up as this as time progresses, and eventually it's going to line up with this 200. Which and that if we look, you currently have a silver cross to the upside on the weekly, and you haven't retested that 9 yet. So once this 9 lines up with this 200 and right around that $2 zone, that would also be a retest of that silver cross, and you would have time for these ranges to step up. 5-day, basically the same idea, but the 5-day looks a little bit stronger, getting over that 97.5%. Still think you come back down and retest somewhere around that 200 SMA though. And this same idea, the 9 to rise up and line up ideally with this 200, because you have a fresh silver cross on the 5-day. 2-day also getting very extreme on both momentum and volatility. On the jewel, you're getting a God mode signal in the background, but you still have the light blue. It has not shifted into a dark blue cell yet. While price is getting well into the 97.5% range, getting close to the 100% range. From here, once you get a loss of around $37, you're likely going to get a pullback. But as long as you are over that $37 meme line, what's more likely is you're going to grind out a higher low here, and while these ranges step up, and then you can attempt somewhere in the 40s. It's going to depend on whether you can hold $37 or not. Daily starting to tick down on momentum and volatility now, with the jewel starting to lose the buy signal, flipping into a neutral signal. It comes along with the rejection of the 97.5%. So basically now, or today's daily close will decide if we're going to get that pullback or not, but whether we close over $37 or close below it. 4 hour starting to look pretty toppy now. Putting in a nice shooting star dildo, getting right around that 97.5%. I want to see if it closes below, and if it closes below and closes as the shooting star, likely going to get that pullback to somewhere around this 9 EMA at a minimum, at around that $36 level. Once you get a 4 hour close below the 9 EMA, then I'm going to be looking for a move to this bottom 38.2%. Around like 33, maybe somewhere lower, a little lower to around like $32. Not really that much lower, to be honest, like $5 lower. Now we'll go into the RSI. Intel. Currently, nothing on that. Oh, this one, we got a lot of data for Intel, so, but no, nothing. Monthly currently has 3 drives of bullish divergence in the bearish control zone. That will be active as long as you're closing over $24.04. And your next target on that divergence is going to be the bullish critical zone, which right now sits at about $62.05. And this level will update in about 25 days. So it's a little unlikely you're going to go straight to $62 within this monthly candle. So the more accurate target is going to be the one that we see on next month's open. And monthly is now pretty close to being topped out in volatility. 2-week also has bullish divergence. This will be active as long as you're closing above 23.68. And your next target is also the critical zone, and that's at $48.54. Pretty close to $50. Weekly also has bullish divergence. This with that silver cross, you're basically already in the critical zone. Yeah, you're already in the critical zone. Let me see if I can adjust that to like 82 and see what number that gives me. It's like $40. Not much off. Not much different. Five days, same look as the weekly with the bullish divergence. 3-day. 3-day also has hidden bullish divergence. You're well into the critical zone though. Nothing there. 4 hours, multiple drives of bearish divergence. This will be active as long as you're closing below about $38.08. And your next target on that divergence is going to be the edge of the bullish control zone, which right now sits at about $35.92. What's more likely though is going to be the neutral zone based off of this volatility compression off of double extreme, and that right now is sitting at about $33.36, very close to that $32 number we just saw. Now we're going to actually let's go one more time frame lower. Nothing there. Let's go one more. Yeah, hourly is now also putting in bearish divergence, and this will confirm with the close below about $37.42. And that gives you a target of this bearish control zone, which right now sits at about 35.80. And then the critical zone is a lot closer to 32, which I like more. This is 31.25, with volatility just about to start expanding from just about extreme lows. We went to like 18%. Let's go to momentum. Six-month is freshly flipping back to the upside with volatility expansion from at right around 25%, and you're going to maintain momentum to the upside as long as you're closing over $25.18. And we are putting momentum is taking out every single one of these previous lows. Are we taking out this low here too, while price is putting in a higher low from this low, giving you not the strongest, but somewhat active or somewhat like not the worst, but not the best drive of bullish divergence, because it is taking out a significant low, but this is a low from like 14 years ago. I wouldn't consider it at all if it was a monthly chart, but since it's a 6 month, it still is, it still does hold significance. And it would just give you a target of these previous significant overbought highs, which is at around like somewhere around the mid to high $60 range, with momentum freshly flipping back up. If we would have taken out this low too, that would have been a lot more. It would increase my bias a lot more towards that divergence being more significant. But since it didn't quite take that one out, only took out this one, it doesn't. It's not very significant. Let's go to the quarterly. Quarterly is also flipping back up. Quarterly, however, does not have volatility support. Volatility is now starting to shift back down and going to a contraction phase, although this isn't confirmed. This will confirm at the end of this quarterly close in about 2 months and 26 days. Let's see if there's zoom in on momentum, making a higher low with price making lower low. So quarterly does currently have regular bullish divergence, which confirmed on the previous quarterly close over the 100 EMA. That divergence would give you a target of these previous highs right around $51. Monthly is also freshly flipped up, and it's going to be remain up as long as you're closing over $19.20. Monthly is on a little low and lower low. Monthly also has bullish divergence. 2 week also flipped to the upside. Also 2 week also has bullish divergence with a triple derp of life. Rarely ever see that, and you're going to be flipped up as long as you're closing over 24.12. You know, that's why the president El Presidente bought, is because he saw the triple derp of life. You know, that's why.
He was using your indicators and was like, you know what?
You know it'd be a great purchase. Look at look at Intel. The chart doesn't lie. It's going higher. We're gonna invest all of the money in it. It's gonna be great. People are gonna love it. They love microchips. They shove them up their ass. It's great. Fantastic.
That's exactly what happened.
This is basically the documentary of it.
Yeah, I was there. Weekly is also flipped up, although volatility is extremely topped out, sitting at 99.2%. But it's gonna remain up as long as you're closing over $33.24, slightly over that number currently. 5-day also flipped up. 5 days also getting to very extreme volatility, and it's going to remain up as long as you're closing over $33.38. 2-day also flipped up with volatility at extreme levels, and it's going to be flipped up as long as you're closing over 34.64. daily currently flipped down with volatility now contracting, and it's going to remain down as long as you're closing below 37.34. And 4 hour currently freshly flipped back up, but it will flip down if you close below $38.01. Let's go a little lower. And 2 hour now lines up with the idea of that short-term pullback, with 2 hours freshly flipping down, likely making the 4 hours also flip down because you're also below the 4 hour pivot. And 2 hours going to remain down as long as you're closing below about $38.08. Zoom in a little on this. This is a lower high. Let me zoom out. With a higher high, giving you bearish divergence on the 2 hour because you have a lower high on momentum with a higher high on price. Let's go to 4 hours, see if there's any divergence there. 4 hour also forming bearish divergence. And so the daily. Daily, however, is not forming any bearish divergence. That's good though. Just looking for a little short-term pullback, which 4 hour divergence will be good enough to do. Tag somewhere around $33, and then we can send it up to 50 from there. Let's get a quick run back over time frames, monthly, 3 month, 6 month. So on the very high time frames, it's looking very very bullish for at the very least a test of these previous highs somewhere around the low to mid $60 area, and I'm basing that off of the 6 month momentum freshly flipping back up and putting in some slight hidden bullish divergence with volatility support. And you have quarterly also freshly flipping back up. Quarterly is putting in bullish divergence. Monthly is putting in bullish divergence. 2 week is putting in bullish divergence. All of these like significant time frames are putting in bullish divergence across the board, but you're also hitting very extreme areas on the HPDR. Your momentum and your volatility are like very topped out on the low to medium, or not the low, but the medium term time frames. I mean, you're very likely going to get a pullback somewhere around here. And now you're putting in bearish divergence on your lower time frame RSIs, as well as the stochastic, which is telling me as aligned with the extremes on the HPDR that you're likely going to get a pullback to somewhere around 32, maybe $33 from here. And I'd want to see a price grind out a higher low somewhere around there, and see the HPDR ranges step up. And if that happens, then that would give me more confidence of putting in a higher low in that area. And then I'd like to see the current RSI bullish divergences play out to somewhere around $50 to $54. That's the next area that I have as resistance, and it's going to test this previous major lower high, closing over that 50. I believe it's 54. 51 actually, 51.28. Closing over there on a daily basis is what sends us to 66, like low to mid $60 area, and getting a close on a daily over about 68.50 is what sends you to your current all-time highs. And right now, to put it in short, on the low time frames, I'm expecting a little bit of a pullback because you're getting very extreme on your momentum and volatility to around $33. And from there, I expect to move into somewhere around 50 to 51. And then depending on your reaction at that 50 to 51 zone, we'll see if we can, we'll decide if we're going to test our current all-time highs or not. And the invalidation currently on that will be getting, let's go down to the weekly. Either a tick below about $19.35 or a weekly close below $23.68. And those are very far off from where we are now. And that's just because of how much busting action we had in the last few weeks.
All those things. Hang on. I just posted 30 things on my chart because I fucked up about the copy paste feature and this bullshit. One sec. All right. Coinbase is next for you, sir. And I don't know when we analyzed this last, but this is what we had, which is identical to what you're saying, except maybe not to the downside. Well, it would be the retest of the breakout zone to continue to go up.
And that could actually just play right into the volatility contracting if it did.
Yeah.
being bullish.
Fucking incredible. And is this? No. Okay. Excelente. Thank you, boys. Thank you, Mr. Farjano. El Mexicano.
Cochiloco.
Cochiloco. That's right. Cochiloco. I'm sorry. I apologize. I fuck up, man. I'm still human, man. Oh, wow. 34 is right there. Ready for a breakout. You're ready for a breakout. But you also just had a silver cross to the downside, which you are breaking. Interesting. Okay. On the 3-month. Let me look at the 6-month just for shits and giggles. Oh, getting over the 21. This looks pretty good. Damn. This was clear on this one. Fuck. Okay.
Bounce right off of that. Literally all you have to do is bid that.
Yep. Fuck. I'm going to use the 6-month more. There's a lot of these gems hidden in those charts in higher time frames that we fucking
might as well just have some alerts set. It's free to do.
Yeah, might as well. Might as motherfucking well. Ok. Estamos viendo Intel.
La nueva empresa en la que invirtió Donald Trump y el gobierno de Estados Unidos. Les va a encantar los microchips, van a tomárselos y metérselos por el ano.
En fin, aquí vamos con todo esto, damas y caballeros. Intel había tenido sus máximos históricos en el 2000. Desde entonces no los volvió a ver hasta el 2020, efectivamente. Y es más, no vio ni siquiera máximos históricos, hizo altos más bajos, lo pueden ver ahí. Y desde entonces hemos tenido una caída bastante decente. Ahora, lo interesante del 2000, cuando Intel tiene su caída, es una caída de 84%. ¿Qué tan grande es la caída que acabamos de vivir en Intel ahora? 74%, básicamente 10% menos que la última caída. Para mí esta vista de ¿cómo se llama? De 6 meses vale mucho la pena por simplemente esto. ¿Ven la línea roja que está acá? Es el promedio del 100. Ese promedio de 100 sesiones es la primera vez que fue tocado cuando vino a los famosos $18 que continuó para arriba después de. Así que esta zona hubiera sido demasiado fácil de haberla ubicado solamente habiendo tenido la tabla en la de 6 meses, cabrón. Pero en la trimestral teníamos el SMA 200, así que no hay excusas, donde nos recargamos, que fue la primera vez que populó. Ahora, siendo la primera vez que lo tocas, porque velo, en el 2009, en la crisis del 2009, literalmente solamente fuiste al 100. Te está diciendo que el 200, que es un promedio más alto, es un regalo, y lo fue para todo el mundo que compró acá Intel en los $18. Felicidades, bien armado. Hemos estado en esta tendencia bajista una vez más desde el 2021. Bueno, 2020 en realidad, pero el 2021 es donde tocan y conectamos estos puntos. Esta tendencia bajista puede ser simplemente rota con esta una vez que crucemos esta línea meme, muy a lo que acabamos de vivir con Bitcoin en estos momentos. Vamos a ver rápidamente con el HPDR. Venimos en una tendencia bajista con altos, bajos, altos más bajos, bajos más bajos, altos mucho más bajos y bajos mucho más bajos. Y ahora en realidad lo que tienes acá es un alto más bajo, pero todavía no se acaba de cerrar ni de formar. Faltan 2 meses y 26 días. Así que todavía hay bastante gasolina para que esto cambie de donde está. Otra indicación puede haber sido el HPDR en la trimestral, donde viste que estábamos en el 100% y ahora estamos caminando hasta la parte baja de la zona azul, que se encuentra en los $43, cerca de esta línea meme, que es importante para el precio de Intel en los $45. Bien, ¿qué es lo que estaríamos esperando por acá? Arriba de los $40 es donde empezamos a ver estos 43, de 43 a 51, 51 a la siguiente línea meme que está en los 64, para que lo tengamos claro. Dentro de esto seguimos en una tendencia bajista, pero ahora tienes momentum de tu lado con nada de con volatilidad literalmente contrayendo, nada por ahí. Mensual tienes volatilidad que había llegado en extremos ante la caída y ahora volatilidad que va probablemente a pintar extremos moviéndose del otro lado. Puedes ver que estamos ya en el 88.3%, es justamente donde nos están rechazando por ahora. Pero en la mensual estás por encima del promedio del 100, que se encuentra justamente en los $36.13. Estando por encima de ello, deberías de poder dar continuación y romper. Esta va a ser una zona importantísima para el precio. En los $40. Rompiendo los $40 vas a tener un muy buen chance de venir a buscar estos 46, que sería el siguiente objetivo. En la de 2 semanas ya estás bastante arriba. Puedes ver que tu SMA 200 no lo ha retesteado desde marzo del 2024, que fue cuando simplemente hiciste un SFP del mismo, y antes de eso en abril del 2022, que fue lo que te llevó a llevarte al nepe. La retomada de este SMA 200 y en el de 2 semanas es lo que yo consideraría como la confirmación del breakout. Y ahora me voy a meter ahorita, ya que estoy hasta acá, es la primera vez. Nel, para empezar, la primera zona que te puede dar un rebote es el promedio del 100, que está aquí abajo en los 32. Es lo primero. Puedes venir hasta acá, caer de acá, hacer esto, treparte por encima y para arriba, ¿no? Por este momento le vamos a dar más validez a que esto va para arriba que para abajo. Por ahora, aunque estás en extremos, esto sugiere en la mensual también, porque estás en el 88.3%, esto sugiere que probablemente necesite respirar tantito. Y acaba de abrir esta vela hace 5 días, tío, hace 6 días. Entonces, y puedes ver que bajó el HPDR, estaba bastante arriba. Entonces tenemos que darle tiempo a que se ajuste. Ya vieron la semanal con volatilidad en extremos, en donde estamos en el 97% en la de 2 semanas. Vamos a la semanal. La semanal estamos en el 100%. 100% en la parte alta, justamente acá pintando una vela topera, pero acaba de abrir el mercado, así que tranquilos. Zona a retestear, donde está el promedio de los 200, que tiene sentido, que es donde está el del 100 de 2 semanas. Es donde yo esperaría un rango de consolidación, más o menos desde acá arriba hasta acá abajo, a los 32, ¿no? Para que todo esto pueda tener tiempo de respirar. Diaria, estamos en 95%, puta madre. Perfecto, déjeme dibujo más como pendejo. Estamos en el 95%, que es lo que nos está rechazando, y estamos cayendo por acá pintando una vela topera como en Oclo. Y lo que nos gustaría ver es que rompamos esa zona y llegar más arriba. El 100% se encuentra en $50. ¿Es posible? Todo es posible, damas y caballeros. Vamos a dejarlo en la vista de 2 semanas. Se me hace la más fácil de seguir para todos ustedes. Un segundo. Reajusto los niveles. Lo pongo acá. Este rango. ¿Por qué este rango? Porque, para empezar, es muy fácil que nada más vengamos acá, ¡pum!, y rompamos y nos vamos para arriba, ¿no? Lo primero que tiene que hacer es darte la idea de que vas a rechazar. Una vez que haga esto, todo el mundo va a decir, güey, rechazó acá, rechazó acá, rechazó acá, nos vamos para abajo. Pero lo único que estarías haciendo es retesteando tu promedio del 100 para tener un breakout, que es lo que siempre decimos. Ahora, ese breakout no se va a ir tan hasta arriba de la nada, o puede que sí, pero todavía te quedaría el promedio de los 200, que está arriba en los $42. Por ahora, ¿qué es lo que estamos buscando? Si eres alcista en Intel, quieres empezar a cerrar por arriba de 39.69, tener este breakout, cerrar acá, romper el 200, consolidar por encima del de $45, y eso te llevaría a los 63 y de ahí a máximos históricos. Pero tienes que hacerlo paso a paso. Lo que también podría ser, aunque si se fijan, ya estuvimos cerca acá con esta segunda vela que se abrió, que es en la que estamos ahorita, de tocar el promedio del 100, puede que eso haya sido el retesteo, ¿no? Entonces, aquí va a ser esa zona. La zona no perder para no cagarla y decir, güey, ya valió todo, madre, son $32. Siempre y cuando, y si vienes a esta zona de aquí abajo en los $32 o los 33, hasta 34, sería una buena zona para agregar a tu long y soltarla por debajo de los 32. Abajo del promedio del 100, cierres del promedio del 100, por debajo de, es donde la sueltas. Esto es más alcista que bajista, tiene toda la cara de que va a dar continuación, y por más que estemos en extremo en la de 2 semanas, vean cómo le encanta estar en extremos. A Intel no creo que haya dudas, entonces eso se podría dar absolutamente como enfermo. Ready, señor? Let's go into medical properties, something. MPW.
Nice. Yeah, on the weekly, it's quite nice actually, because anytime it tries to get back above $5.30, just can't hold that. and then it just deviates and sells off. So whenever you get, around that region, it's definitely worth watching. Makes sense that you found rejections kind of where you have been finding them solidly in this downtrend, which is right on that weekly EMA 100. So you have an easy perspective on really knowing when this is about to do some busting action to the upside. It's very simply just once you get back above this EMA 100. So you're back above $5.30. It's a good sign. But if you end up rejecting here, it's just going to look like exactly what happened in March. You were holding support. You started to move up. You then almost hit that EMA 100 before rolling over, not holding the throwback, deviating before breaking down. Now, all eyes on the weekly EMA 9 and 21. You do see they have crossed, and so you're just simply waiting for the 21 to cross the 55, giving you a silver cross. You do end up getting a silver cross on the weekly. That'll be a telling sign that if you get a pullback here, ideally it holds the silver cross. So you could either then start expanding, reclaim the EMA 100. That'll start giving you a target up to the SMA 200, which is at $8.89. That'll logically just, cause us to cross, and the weekly EMA 9 will start moving up. Or if you deviate, if you lose $5.30, $5.40, and deviate, you'll have confluence of possibly testing that weekly 9. There you need to watch very carefully, because you can see the last higher low potential is sitting right in that $4.83 region, or specifically that just late September low. Because bulls, are trying to solidify this being a weekly trend shift. They want this to be the last higher low, higher high. So for us to get that confirmation, you just simply can't at all wick under. Let's see here. I guess it's September 15th wick low specifically. It's going to be a big spot. Now let's check the HBDR. Let's see here. Okay, so wow. Yeah, you are at extremes. So, I mean, if you do end up getting that pullback, nothing of concern. You just simply need to hold above the weekly 9. Holding the weekly 9 still will give you that silver cross potential. Now, the weekly is closing in 4 days. So, if it continues to hold above that $5.30, $5.40 region, get back above the weekly 9 and just consolidate. That'll just be your confirmation of continuation. Potentially could just mean that you're going to hold maybe 2 to 3 closures. And this is on a weekly. So 14 days before moving up, causing the ranges to just logically move up, because this is in the extreme zone. Volatility is, up there too. It's at 72%. So, not hitting an extreme read, but just approaching the extreme zone. Oh, wow. I mean, you're just at the 97.5% region. It's pretty insane. Now let's take this off. Let's go actually to the quarterly and check that out. I'm curious. Gosh. Yeah, that's insane. Massive quarterly sell-off. Basically, chart just capitulated. Once you lost $12, it was just over. You have a massive quarterly silver cross. And so you can actually see, since you got that quarterly silver cross, you actually haven't retested the quarterly 9 ever. So that could just help us really determine, we should be watching that zone very carefully. That's sitting at $5 and basically $6 actually. Okay, so when I see that, I just logically go to that SMA 200. Do start seeing it moving down. So overall, I mean, if price starts moving up, this still will start moving down. If it can get closer to that quarterly 9, it'll just be great confluence of this region being a major rejection zone, because silver crosses are nice because they can keep us in check, but they also can just give us confluence. If we were watching a quarterly EMA 9, again, the same spot that was holding the entire time this was ripping up, you should watch the first reaction of it after a major capitulation, and then the confluence just helps with the silver cross. giving you more confidence just in that idea. We'll make our life easier here. Lower low. Okay. So you can see the argument. Maybe bulls are trying to put bullish structure. Maybe, but again, that's why just taking out these highs are going to be important. We'll go back to the weekly now. You know, that is why specifically just watching the higher low develop, breaking out, and taking out these highs. I mean, you can just simply draw another meme line at that wick high rejection. You can just see it's like the extremity high spot. You start wicking up, taking out specifically May 13th wick high. I'm going to start really looking at that as a great sign on the quarterly. That then could start giving you confluence of, yeah, maybe a higher low. You get the quarterly trend shift. And then, you know, all eyes on maybe into next year. If you can get the SR flip, maybe of the quarterly 9, and then, you know, all eyes on maybe that EMA 21 sitting at $9 will be the second spot on the silver cross. And we just don't know how the silver cross is going to react because you've just never had one on the quarterly. So, you know, that's why then I have to just watch the spot. I have to see where the trend will shift. And I see why, you know, the idea or kind of bull hopium, like we can see it in real time. They're just trying to solidify this being a higher low. So then if you're a bear, you just are trying to take that out, roll over and test around that $2.92 region. Because you've only hit that twice, actually. And I will say, last time you hit that, let's take it from there. I mean, last time you hit that support, you essentially got on a quarterly 290% up before a pullback. So that would take you closer to this region here. Pretty insane. It's always funny when you start looking at these charts on stream because they often are changing or shifting ever so slightly. And so you can see the hopium. You can see why bulls would be wanting to see this. But that's why, you know, just actually having the momentum will be very important. And so for me now, all eyes on $5.30. Specifically, it's $5.44. That's the spot, like on the lower time frames. You just need to hold. If you can actually hold that, not get deviations, because you can just see deviate, but hold it. You know, sustain rallies above it. I'll be looking at that as the first signs of maybe a bigger rally. You can see today you're back testing it, but you also put in a massive shooting star. So, you know, bulls are really going to be trying to defend this zone today. They can just consolidate. You can make a good argument to expand. Expansions up will just cause the daily 9 to move up, maybe giving you a connection into that zone. Because really, bears are just going to try to deviate down, reject, lose the daily 9, use that as confluence to move all the way down to $5. If they lose $5, even on a daily close, that'll be a really good sign that, yeah, we're going to start moving down closer to that $4.76 region. And with what we know on the weekly, you're then hopium of that higher low is taken out, no higher low potential. You're then deviating the meme line, which each time you deviate, that $5 psychological number leads to big moves down. And you potentially will just have a massive range opening up, giving you $3.89 confluence. So ideally, that won't happen. And remember, we started off looking at the weekly. So if you're going to be bullish on this chart, I see the argument. The weekly, I mean, the quarterly is potentially forming an uptrend while the weekly is trying to confirm it. So with that idea, then we don't need to front run it. We just know, okay, well, ideally, if this is going to be bullish, the weekly EMA 100 will get reclaimed. $5.44 will hold as support. And you'll start moving up, taking out potentially that $6.53 wick high that was formed in May. If you can get all those three things, then yeah, this will be really good for a move up to that $8-9 region. And assuming this doesn't just keep moving down, currently it's at $8.89. But if that doesn't occur and you do reject here, just be aware of that. If from this point you start selling off and specifically losing $5, then yeah, I'm going to be looking at that as a major sign of, bears are going to take control here. And unfortunately, the hopium for a major higher low here is not going to hold, and quarterly trend will just still take place here, which is down. It's been massively down. You can hit hopium potentially on chop. Little details can help, but as long as you're putting in lower highs consistently, you're just going to be chopping and almost like within a channel here before breaking down. But really, this will just represent lower highs, right? High, 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 high. Notice all these highs aren't taking out the previous one. And yeah, you potentially are getting higher lows, but that just brews a channel, really, honestly. We just view it on like the 2-month. You can just probably start drawing it out. Like boom, and then boom. That was not accurate. Something like that, right? And so you are towards the end of it, technically. So all eyes on that. Maybe into next month, you'll get a major move on MPW. I'm unsure where this will go. I think, honestly, if you get, let's say, that bi-monthly above $5.44, I think could be the first good sign of this breaking out. Obviously, we'll use that weekly confluence with the EMA 100. Because really, that's the easy view. If you just get back above that EMA 100 on the weekly, you can just see major moves. And that also has never occurred in this downtrend, really. You haven't hit that since moving down. Out of my own curiosity, let's just see here.
I was just staring at that too, by the way, just on my chart directly. I was like, this is the easiest. It's the 100 right there on the weekly.
Yeah, that's it. That's just going to hold the dreams, hopes, and everything. Because I'm trying to see consistently staying down like this. And then once you got back above it, right, you rejected. It was like a price divergence. You're in a channel kind of like with what we're in now. Broke out. So we'll just delete this. Broke out, got the reclaim. And so we'll look here. Okay, so that led to a 9% move. Now, yes, you did massively move down. This is where maybe other moving averages would have helped you, like the 9, right? Okay, cool. Lost it, moved to the 100. Interesting price action there before forming a bottom. Going up 40% from that spot. It's insane. This is about a 12% move. Got back above it here. We won't even measure it. Well, yeah, we'll measure it from the reclaim. Let's just see, like reclaims it. Let's just see the reactions. Okay, cool. From first red candle, 9.42%. We'll take it from when we lost the weekly 9, though. I think that makes more sense. 52% from this weekly EMA 100 reclaim. Pretty insane. Okay, lost it. We can just take it. I'm just curious now. Cheeky, how much? 8%. So you get at least over 5% moves upon reclaim, which is important. That's significant. You can use the same idea down. And so that is why that's the big spot. If you're trying to be a bull here and you're trying to really catch something, watch the weekly, respect the EMA 100, look at this channel we're in, and really understand that something I think is going to break before November on MPW. Currently positioned bullish, but at extremes. So, when I see something like this, could definitely afford a pullback here. And that's where it becomes tricky, because if you pull back, you're really just deviating back within that range. The hopium is that you just don't full on lose $5, right? So if you can just like get back above, so you go down, hit $5, move up, reclaim 544, that'll be great if that can occur. It'll just be the ultimate bear trap, because you're putting in bullish structure on the weekly. Whereas maybe, let's see here, not even the daily would trend shift. Yeah, because you have a high. So if, let's say, you just candled down, yeah, your last higher low is here. So, and mind you, this is a very tricky chart, because look at these lows, look at this low, and I'll just tell people this if you're trading this, and then look at that low. Like, it did take out, it took out almost, yeah, it came very close to taking out all the lows before essentially liquidity grabbing down.
Very
actually,
elevated.
I eat my words. It did hold that. So never mind.
Oh.
GG Bulls. So yeah, that's all I have on MPW. Really nice chart, though. I just think patience will pay. It's right on the cusp of a breakout, but this is why we don't want to be predictive, just reactive. Really just wait for this. This will just be the easy play if you're trying to be like mega long on this. So,
all righty, we got Tesla next. And speaking of cars, for you, Alex, speaking of cars, I was watching football yesterday, and Peter Griffin, aka Jim Farley, aka the CEO of Ford, promised me that prices were going to go up because of tariffs. So he was being so nice, giving me discounts before. So last night, I found myself dumbfounded by the fact that I was watching football, and then a Ford commercial came up saying 20% off MSRP on all vehicles. 20% off the price. I'm just in disbelief about. I there's no way this guy lied to me, right? There's no way.
No way they would do that.
Impossible.
We had to front run it. We had to buy. We had to stock up. What's going on here?
Yeah, of course. Smart people bought cars already, definitely. And by the way, the electric cars, they lost the incentive. All of them went back and discounted their car, the incentive already. Like not even a month went by. They were like, all right, fuck it. We're going to lose that. So now imagine the discounts in 2 or 3 months. And then in 6 months, deflation, baby. The motherfucker.
All those people who just bought them took a massive L.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, when you think the government's helping you, guys, you saw prices go up for 5 years and you never wondered anything. And now you're like, hey, it's inflation. It's coming now. Then you might be a little too late to the trends. But hey, to each their own. Hopefully people are learning. Nah, I'm just kidding. They're not learning anything. They never do. They never do. That's what makes it so amazing. Ok, MPW. MPW es Medical Properties Trust. Esto quiere decir que es una empresa que compra propiedades que tienen permisos médicos en Estados Unidos. Y eso es bueno o malo o alcista. No tengo ni puta idea, honestamente. Obviamente, bienes raíces comerciales están en la mierda. ¿Quién va a querer una puta oficina? Sobre todo ahora que van a tener menos empleados que nunca. Mark Zuckerberg va a acabar vendiendo todas sus oficinas para él solamente tener una computadora y todos sus AIs viviendo en la computadora, ¿no? Lo único que va a mantener son sus centros de AI y robots lo van a mantener todo. Entonces, no sé. Y muchos de ustedes dirán, pero Alejandro, los robots, AI va a curar cáncer y todo eso. No sé. Claro que puede, ¿no? Por supuesto que puede. Y lo podrían hacer hoy. Pero en verdad las farmacéuticas van a curar algo que han podido curar por no sé cuánto tiempo, que les da la mayor cantidad de dinero y además mantiene a la población aterrorizada de que les va a dar cáncer. No sé. No sé si de la nada se volvieron buen pedo. Pero si estamos viendo solamente la tabla, podemos apreciar lo siguiente. Máximo, doble techo en el pecho, un alto más bajo y hasta ahora un alto más bajo. Ahora estamos viendo la perspectiva semanal. La perspectiva semanal tiene este setup de volatilidad que está efectivamente expandiendo. La cosa es esta. Déjenme rápido, les pongo solamente el gráfico para que vean esto. Esto continúa cayendo desde acá. El pico en el 2022, que fue enero del 2022, fue donde todo el mercado de la bolsa tradicional cayó. Después de hacer un doble techo que había encontrado en febrero del 2020, antes de la caída de COVID, y después. Y ahora, después de todo eso, tuvo la caída más grande de toda su historia, si no estoy equivocado, efectivamente. Esta caída que había tenido antes, en el 2007, al 2008 fue de 83%. Déjeme ver cuándo fondeó esto. Marzo, igual que la bolsa. Ok. Y ahora nos encontramos con este doble techo en el pecho de enero del 2022 hasta acá, un 87%. Solamente 4% más arriba de este movimiento interesante. Ahora, estamos intentando recuperar este nivel. Este nivel es muy importante y pueden ver por qué. Esto es FP. Es lo que estarías buscando acá, ¿no? Estarías buscando un poco de lo mismo, con un bajo más alto comparado con este. Es un poco lo que la gente estaría buscando si son alcistas en esta tabla. Ahora, acercándonos, vemos que desde que perdimos el promedio del 100 en el 2022, no lo hemos ni siquiera tocado, no nos hemos molestado. Es la línea roja que están viendo por ahí. Ahora, pueden ver con esta vela topera cómo no lo tocamos, le hicimos un pre-front run. Y ahora acá, y voy a tener que quitar mis dibujitos, que era lo que les iba a decir, esto ya lo teníamos pintado tal cual con el mismo análisis, no sé cuándo lo hicimos, pero tienen que notar esto. Ahí está, ya lo puedo ver yo. Tienes la ruptura, una vez más, de este canal bajista que está por acá, perfectamente bien trazado. Y lo que estás viendo es un rechazo del promedio del 100. Ya lo tocaste. Recuerda, cada vez que vienes a tocar un promedio, por ejemplo, el 55, que es el naranja acá, lo tocaste, caíste. Hiciste un SFP, caíste. Hiciste un SFP más choncho, caíste. Y ahora lo vas a retomar, muy probablemente. Mientras más le pegues a un nivel, sea un promedio o una línea meme, más probabilidades tienes en el siguiente golpe de quedarte por encima o por abajo de. ¿Ok? Y como ya tuvimos en la naranja, 1, 2, 3, 4 escenarios donde le pegamos, podemos tomar eso como referencia para el de arriba. No le has tocado una vez, ya lo tocaste acá. Lo que más probabilidad tenga, en mi opinión, es que tengas un retroceso. No puede ser gigante, ni creo que vaya a ser gigante, pero un retroceso podría venir tranquilo hasta esta zona, que es la zona del breakout en los 491. Ahora, empecemos con la de 3 meses rápidamente para poder analizar esto como se debe. Tienes un cruce plateado a la baja, cualquier oportunidad es de corto, acá con el retesteo del 9 y cada una te hubiera pagado, ¿ok? Hasta ahí estamos bien, continuamos en esta caída. Ahora, en la trimestral vienes de estos extremos, que fue la caída, y ahora estás contrayendo. Esto puede indicar que probablemente estemos ante una, ¿cómo se dice? Una corrección. Mensual, puedes ver que tu volatilidad está contrayendo en este escenario y la volatilidad está contrayendo en lo que está superando tu promedio del 9 mensual y el promedio del 5. ¿Dónde está tu promedio del 9 mensual? Justamente en los $5, cerca de esta zona. Y eso es justamente lo que estoy viendo. Necesitas que el promedio del 5, la línea verde, se vaya por encima de la línea azul. ¿Por qué? Porque eso te indicaría fuerza. Por ahora esto no nos está diciendo nada, nos está diciendo que tienes el breakout técnico de esta zona simplemente por la línea meme y ahora el promedio del 21 te está aguantando. Ya habíamos tocado el promedio del 21 una vez más. Desde acá, solamente esta va a ser la segunda vez. Si ya lo tocamos una vez, probablemente vayamos a retomar este nivel. Bien, interesante. Con eso dicho, vamos a ver qué tan sobrevendidos o no estamos. Entrando en la zona azul, exactamente, quieres romper el 21. De romper el 21 podrías ir a buscar los $6. De romper los $6, los 6.69 en la parte alta de la zona azul, que viene también el promedio del 34 bajando. Y ahora vienes de bastante abajo, vienes del 100% aquí abajo, subiste hasta la parte del 88.3%, abajo al 68. Ha sido arriba y abajo. Ahora vienes abajo y estás en el 61.8% rebotando. Bien, ok. 2 semanas, 2 semanas tienes volatilidad contrayendo, lo pueden ver acá, aunque está empezando a apuntar para arriba. Y por acá estás ya en una zona bastante choncha. El 88.3% te está rechazando cuando intentaste buscar el 95%. Esto quiere decir que necesitas consolidación, lo que le da aún más apoyo a la teoría de que tienes que regresar más o menos por acá hasta los 470 más o menos. Aunque de romper estos 470 y llevarte estos mínimos, empezarías a romper estructura alcista. La semanal, tío, estás en el 97.5%, el 100% está aquí arriba en los 7.60 con la línea meme, y puedes ver que también nuestro promedio del 100 es lo que está cayendo por acá, que es lo que vamos a mantener como nuestra zona de importancia. Por ahora, tenemos la zona de breakout del 55, justamente en los 4.87, justamente con esta línea meme, y es lo que esperaría aguante. Más allá de esto, tienes volatilidad expandiendo en lo que el precio está subiendo. Esto es bueno si eres alcista. Aquí es donde empieza a expandir. Vamos a ver. Totalmente. Pum, pum, pum y continúa para arriba. Esto puede expandir mucho más. Vamos a ver cuándo fue la última vez que estuvimos tan abajo. Hasta acá, en el 2021, en volatilidad. Lo que te puede dar continuación en estos movimientos es ir a buscar esta zona de los $7 siempre y cuando rompas esta zona en los 5.70. Diaria, tienes volatilidad expandiendo también, pero también estás justamente en el 95% de la parte alta del HPDR y esperaría un ajuste hasta probablemente la parte baja del HPDR, la parte alta del HPDR de la zona azul, que son los $5. Lo voy a mantener en la semanal. Voy a quitar el HPDR para que lo puedan ver en putiza y acá entender qué es lo que estamos viendo. Este breakout que acabamos de tener, divertido y todo, está agotado de cierta forma. Necesita consolidación. Algo que sería bastante culero, que es lo que normalmente pasa en estos mercados, es esto. Tienes este alto, un alto más bajo, pero tienes este bajo más alto. Entonces, ahora que estás haciendo este alto más bajo que este, vengas a consolidar. La cosa es, ¿dónde vas a rebotar? Uno, si puedes chingarte de una los 5.70 y empezar a consolidar para acá, vas a ir a los 7.60. Pero por ahora, lo que tiene más cara inmediato es que esto va a regresar o a la zona de breakout de esta línea meme descendente y acá reventar, o el escenario más cabrón sería justamente acá, donde está tu promedio del 9 semanal en los 4.84. Cualquier cosa llevándote estos mínimos, podrías empezar a dudar si ese va a ser el caso y tal vez entonces esto simplemente vaya a la parte baja de la zona hasta acá y eso continuaría haciendo bajos más altos. Simplemente por cómo se ve, que es la primera vez que de verdad estamos tocando el promedio del 100, yo le daría más preferencia a este escenario, donde esto tiene más probabilidades de encontrar un suelo más alto para poder continuar a la alza después de consolidar por un rato. No sé qué tan urgente sea, ¿no? La subida de esto no es como que hay noticias que tengan que ver algo con este tipo de propiedades que les vaya a dar un beneficio gigantesco. Por lo que simplemente creo que consolidación de lado por un rato es lo que más cara tiene de. Mr. Farjano, we're ready for you, señor, with, what the fuck? With Coinbase.
Great. Let us check out Coinbase. So Coinbase on the monthly, it did open from the monthly open of around $343. We are up about $40, and our Academy long is up about $87 from the entry now, from $300. Around 15, more than 15% since the open, and from the long, it is, oh, nice. We're up about 30%, 30.9%. Not too
It's
bad.
big.
Pretty big, pretty big. I've seen some big ones, but not quite this big. And we are approaching that 78.6% now, which is at about $400, $399.34. We want to see if you want for a continuation of the higher time frames, is a close ideally over the 78.6% at that $400 level, and that will take you upwards to somewhere around high 400s to low 500s, around $480 to about $505. And right now, there is no possibility of a monthly bearish divergence because you are making higher highs on momentum, and volatility is currently supporting it. go to the 2-week. 2-week is now reclaiming the bottom 38.2%, getting back over the median. What we want to see is a close over that median, and that the median's at about $372, and that's what takes us up to that $500 area, which is the top 50%. Right now, there is possibility for actually, no, never mind, because we haven't made a higher high yet. We are making lower highs, so this isn't a bearish divergence. Thought there was a higher high in between here before that we started making lower highs. Before on this rally to the higher high, we just continued to make higher highs on momentum. I don't know if I'm making sense here. And when we started making lower highs on momentum, the price was not making higher highs, so there's no divergence there. Let's go to volatility. Is now at extreme lows. On the jewels, is there any divergence? Let's see. There is. Zoom out for a second. You made a higher high. No, not on there either. Go to the weekly. Let's zoom in. This is a higher high. This is a lower high though. So, yeah, so there is possibility for weekly bearish divergence, and that will confirm with the close of below this low, and that is at about $303. So it lines up pretty close with the psychological figure of $300, and that would be a loss of your median as well. So that would take you to about this bottom 38.2% at about $272. And what makes it less likely though is that you do currently have a fresh buy signal on your jewel. Let's go to the 5-day. 5-day is also now leaning towards a breakout with the close. We're getting over the 38.2%. It closes in 3 hours, so it makes it a lot more likely that you will close over that 38.2%. And on the close over $365.21, I'd be looking for a move into somewhere around the 78.6%, and that lines up with the $500 area. It's slightly higher. It's at about $512 on the 5-day. Let's go into 2-day now. 2 days also getting into the bullish control zone on momentum. There is no possibility of bearish divergence because you are making higher highs, and 2-day has already closed over that 38.2%. So right now we are getting a slight rejection from the 61.8%, but ideally we want to continue seeing closes over the 50%, and then from there we should see expansion into the 78.6, and that as of this moment is at about $434. To the daily. Daily is also pointing to the upside. However, we're getting a little extreme. Volatility is also getting high. The jewel is now getting into the bullish control zone, getting close to the critical zone. This is the area where I would look for a rejection, and it lines up with us getting back around the 88.3%. What I want to see to confirm the pullback though is a close below the 88.3% at $384. That happens, then you likely get another test of this 9 EMA at around like 355. But as long as you are bouncing over this 88.3%, what's more likely is you're going to grind out a higher low over here and then another attempt at somewhere around $400. Let's go to the 4-hour. 4 hours now, zoom in a little bit. Let's still flip to the upside. Tried to flip down a little bit. Now it's right at that moving average. And volatility is basically doing the same thing. Volatility is still technically expanding though, getting right at the moving average. We're currently front running the 88.3%, just slightly, but we're still over the 78.6. So it's in a position where it's likely more to go sideways rather than up or down. A loss of 380 or to the downside, or about 397 to the upside will decide the direction. And if you were to get over that 397, that's what takes you to somewhere around low to mid 400s, and below 380 is what takes you to somewhere around like 350, 352. And let's go into the RSI. Monthly is about to put in a fresh drive of hidden bullish divergence. If as long as you get a close anywhere over $351.89, and that'll give you an easy target of hitting the critical zone, which right now currently is at this is going to update in about 25 days. Very likely it's going to update a couple times before you hit it, and right now it's at around $919. I would take this number with several grains of salt because it's going to update maybe 2 or 3 times. Go into the 2 week. Nothing there. 5 day. 5 day currently has confirmed 3 drives of hidden bullish divergence. This will be active as long as you're closing over $303. And your next target is the bullish control zone, which right now is at $467. Critical zone, which will update several times, is currently 813 times. I mean $813. 3 day also has confirmed multiple drives of hidden bullish divergence, with volatility now expanding from 2 periods of 0%. And this will be active as long as you're closing over about $304. So it's very close to the $303 number. And you're currently already in the bullish control zone. So the next target will be the critical zone, and that is at 485. 2 day nothing, daily nothing, 4 hour nothing. And let's check out momentum. Monthly is currently firstly pointed up, rejecting the bearish control zone, and it's going to be pointed up as long as you're closing over 273. Volatility currently is freshly starting to tick below the moving average, but has not closed yet, confirming contraction. And it kind of looks like, based off of just how it looks visually, that we're probably going to start ticking back up. Although that doesn't really mean anything. That's just me guessing. 2 week is currently flipped to the downside, but close to flipping back up. And it will flip back up in 4 days and 4 hours as long as you close over $355.50. I am rounding it up just slightly because these numbers tend to change slightly. Right now, 2 week is currently getting volatility contraction with momentum flip down. Weekly is currently freshly flipped up with volatility freshly going into an expansion phase, and we're going to be flipped up as long as we close as long as we're closing over $339.50. And we are currently about to break out of the bearish control zone as well. 5 day, same exact look as the weekly. Same thing with volatility as well, freshly starting to tick back up. We have momentum flipped up as long as you're closing over 346. 2 day now also flipped up with volatility expanding from many periods of 0%, and we're going to be flipped up as long as we're closing over 366. Daily is also flipped up with volatility expanding, and we're going to be flipped up as long as we're closing over 347. 4 hour is also 4 hours going to be flipped to the downside, close to flipping back up, however, with volatility getting a little high, but it will flip back up if it closes over about $386. Well, 385.86 to be exact, which we're like 4 cents below. 2 hours currently also flip to the downside, and it will flip back up, and 2 hours already put in a double extreme, and it will flip back up if we close over 387.33, which we're at about $2 below. Go down lower. Hourly is also flipped to the downside. Kind of all lines up for a short-term pullback from here, and it will be flipped down as long as you're closing below about $389.91. Let's go back up. All right. So on the high time frames, along with Bitcoin, it is gearing up for a move on the monthly with volatility looking like it's about to go back into an expansion phase, just based off of the candles, and putting in hidden bullish divergence, which will confirm with any close over about $351.89. And you have monthly rejecting the bearish control zone with momentum flipping back up, putting in monthly hidden bullish divergence. On the lower time frames, you are all of them getting aligned with momentum flipping to the downside, and some slight bearish divergence appearing. And not really the most worrying for the higher time frames, just for a slight pullback to retest the lower time frame top 38.2% on the HPDR, and that puts you at somewhere around $350, maybe $360, which is not really that much lower than where we are right now. Maybe like $25 to $30 lower. And based off of the monthly hidden bullish divergence, very likely you're going to put in a higher low around that point and continue from there on to somewhere around $400 to $460, which would be the next RSI bullish divergence target, around $465 to for the bullish critical zone. And right now, the invalidation for that would be getting, let's see, let's go down a little bit. Either a tick below about like $320 or a weekly close below $300. And that will likely bring you back to retest somewhere around these lows here at this 100 EMA at around like $245. Still a possibility you could put in a higher low right here and put in a very dirty liquidity grab and take all of these lows out, and that would be a very crypto-like thing to do. Just a little bit less lucky at that point. And I personally would be looking for a test of somewhere around this 200, although it's not necessarily confirmed until you lose this 100 on a closing basis. But right now, on the short-term timeframes, I do think you get a little bit of a move down. Tap somewhere around $350 to $355 lines up with your weekly 5 EMA to your 9 EMA after reclaiming it, after chopping around that area for so long. And then from there, I expect a bounce into somewhere around your 400 to like 400, low to mid $400 area, topping somewhere around $460 for that bullish divergence target on the bullish critical zone on the RSI.
Very nice, senor. Thank you so much. Very clear and very simple, because you already told me what to do. Thank you. Coinbase, damas y caballeros. Vean, honestamente, este es uno de los gráficos más sencillos de seguir de todos. Estamos encima de esta línea meme. Esta línea meme está en los 380. Si podemos cerrar por encima de estos 380, porque la última semana no lo hicimos. Por más que nos estemos viendo esto, el cierre fue, en 380.02, tal cual. Cerraste básicamente en el límite. Con que cierres esta vela en 4 días y 4 horas por encima de los 380, estás del otro lado para ir a buscar los 430 una vez más, y una vez que rompas los 430, porque ya los viniste a tocar una vez, 2 veces, 1, 2, en realidad 3 veces con velas semanales, deberías tener una buena probabilidad de venir a romperlos y buscar máximos históricos. Y de ahí, ya saben ustedes, todos tenemos los prometidos $657 que a algún punto llegarán. ¿Por qué? Porque tenemos uno de los patrones más alcistas que puedes tener, que es justamente esta gran tasa con la agarradera, que es la consolidación. Lo puedes ver justamente ahí. Y el objetivo de ese movimiento, $657. Ahora, te lo tiene que dar en este ciclo Nel. Así que no estoy prometiendo eso, porque si algo le corta a cripto los pantalones, pues le va a cortar a esto también los pantalones. Pero mínimo, lo primero que tenemos que hacer es poder cerrar por encima de 380. Vamos a empezar con la mensual, porque no hay tantos datos en Coinbase. Viendo la mensual, vamos a ver si podemos spotear algo por acá diferente. Tenemos volatilidad contrayendo por debajo por fin, está buscando cerrar por debajo de esto. Pero recuerden, a esto todavía le falta. ¿Cuándo fue la última vez que hizo esto? Abril del 2024. ¿Y cuándo fue la última vez que subió? En julio, agosto del 2023. Y eso te llevó a máximos históricos, marzo. Ok. No hay tanto que te diga por acá esto. Estamos esperando a ver qué pasa. Volatilidad había estado expandiendo mensualmente hablando. Ese fue el primer periodo de expansión real del punto más bajo, y eso nos lo dio en los 239, y pues sabemos lo que pasó, máximos históricos, ¿ok? Pero por ahora, esta volatilidad contrayendo no nos dice nada, porque todavía no tenemos confirmación. Faltan todavía 25 días y 4 horas para cerrar esta vela. Y en este punto mensual puedes ver exactamente a lo que me refiero cuando digo un cierre por encima de esta línea meme en los 380 en 25 días y 4 horas. Va a ser brutal para la alza. Puedes ver el patrón, pum, pum, se está volviendo más extremo y más fuerte y violento. Me gusta. 2 semanas. Vamos a poner el HPDR ya acá para poder ver dónde estamos parados en esto. Tenemos volatilidad contrayendo en lo que estamos teniendo este movimiento a la alza. Tenemos nuestra media en el HPDR en los $372 y estamos por encima. Esto nos dice que podríamos venir a los 465, que es un máximo histórico. Es lo que estaríamos buscando. La zona no perder, 372. En caso de perderla, siguiente objetivo va a ser esta línea meme en los 340, para que lo tengan en mente. Y de ahí 320 a la baja. Y eso no se llevaría el mínimo de acá, no romperías nada de estructura en la de 2 semanas. En la semanal, 320, tampoco. En la semanal tampoco. Estás ya en el 50%. Quieres cerrar por encima de estos 390 para poder dar continuación y buscar la parte del 61.8% en los 445 que te ponen en máximo histórico. Pero por ahora estamos justamente en el 50% y podríamos tener un retroceso a los 360 hasta los 330 básicamente y no pasaría nada. Continuaría siendo una estructura alcista. Semanal tiene volatilidad empezando a expandir y esto te lo va a confirmar más fácil todavía en 4 días y 4 horas. ¿Ok? Diaria. Pueden ver dónde estamos en la diaria y esto es lo que nos está diciendo que debemos de consolidar tantito. Esta consolidación podría venir hasta esta zona de los 340 o en su defecto, en realidad no tan abajo. Yo me quedaría por acá en los 340 máximo, 380, 365. Ok, voy a irme con la vista semanal en esto para todos ustedes. Obviamente estamos en una tendencia alcista, no hay duda alguna de esto. Y la cosa va a ser, queremos llegar a altos históricos. Quiero entrar en un trade, Ale, ¿qué hago? 380 sería una buena oportunidad, estás en 385, ahí tienes que ver esto, pero tu invalidación está muy abajo, cabrón. Está en los 320, no tienes de otra. Y acá 340 sería la máxima oportunidad, 344. Arriba de 344 tienes probabilidad de venir a esta línea y de acá para arriba. Cierres por encima de 380, te dejarían ir a altos históricos. Lo que necesita ahorita es consolidar un poco. Si empiezas a ver esto, sería perfectamente bueno. Si llegas a ver eso hasta los 380, bien. Si llegas a ver eso hasta los 340, también bien, y eso te llevaría para arriba. La cosa es, empieza a perder los 343 en cierres semanales o diario, te llevas los 300 y estos mínimos de acá, estaríamos equivocados y esto va para abajo. Pero por ahora le damos más... la tabla en sí es más alcista y tiene más probabilidades de dar continuación a la alza después de un poco de consolidación que bajista. Y ahí lo tienen con los objetivos y Toño de Valdés, damas y caballeros. Mr. Alex, let's see what's going on with Tessie Girl.
Nice. It's pretty insane. I mean, when I just look quickly at the quarterly, it's just a nice reminder how strong it is. After that quarterly closing above that $415 level, pretty insane. I mean, just flipping an all-time high into support is the definition of bullish. Only move up from here makes sense is that $489 region. Going to the monthly, I mean, it's just exactly what we're saying on Bitcoin. You get to an all-time high and near it, you need to just be watching very carefully. Bulls have an easy objective here. You just simply need to make a new macro high. All while bears are going to try to show up here. This is when things can become very predatory and also very volatile. To me, at this perspective, you have the throwback. You've gotten the spring, so you just need to now stay above $436 on like a weekly, 5-day, and or daily. It's going to be very key because as long as you do stay above $436, you should see expansion. See here, nice daily 9 lines up exactly with that idea. You had a very nice swipe down, hit the 21. And something to note about the daily 21 is really you haven't hit it since breaking out. So this reaction here should have, at least been expected. You should always get some reaction, specifically when you have a daily 9 holding this strong. We have a nice 21 lined up with that all-time high. So for me now, this daily perspective lines up pretty nicely with what we're saying. Weekly, I mean, the monthly just needs to make a new macro high, and the daily looks like it's gearing up for a move. To me, once you really do take out just October 2nd high, you will just see an explosive move to a new high. The fact that Bitcoin has already made a new high has implications for risk. And to me, I'm looking at that as a good sign. It's just a more matter of when than if at this point. Specifically, too, when you do see that 2-week volatility, it didn't give us a setup, but still, you're only at 57%. Pretty epic to see. We can easily see bi-weekly volatility hit extremes. And the fact that you're only at 57% while Tesla's at $448 is in itself bullish. Now, again, the bi-weekly is looking pretty nice. You're holding above the 61.8%. This was a big thing going into the 2-week. And so we're still holding above it. That's great because you're getting confluence of that move up to that $505 region. Yeah, I like that perspective. You ever so slightly make a new higher high, take out this wick. Once you make new highs and go into price discovery, I mean, anything can happen. You'll either form a new range that can either come off the back of like big moves up and down, and you just kind of chop, forming a new range here. Or yeah, you just ever so slightly make that macro higher high. You've gotten it. You've gotten the higher high. This lines up exactly with just potentially making a macro higher low. And then you get a deeper pullback. This pullback is just bullish structure on the higher time frame. So, I mean, bulls have a lot going for themselves going into the end of the year on Tesla specifically. Tesla's looking very good to me. It's just more, can we just get expansion from here? It's looking really primed and honestly lined up for it. You can even just see on the quarterly as well. This would be the second quarterly closure above 400. Let's see, $436. So, I mean, that's just a really good sign. Look at all the last reactions in this zone. I mean, when you first came up here, you made that high. Okay, you didn't close above it. You then rallied up, rejected really harshly off $436, leading to a 49% move. Pretty insane. So now just the flip side of that. You're just getting the reclaim. But again, we know exactly what level we need to take out, and it's that all-time high. Right, and the reason, it seems obvious, but when you get to this point, it's nothing's guaranteed. So it should all point to a new high. But if you don't get that and you end up aggressively rolling over and specifically losing that $436 region, and then actually closing below $415, yeah, to me, that'll be a really telling sign because there should be really nothing stopping bulls from this point. They've gotten the quarterly close. You're in a 15-day breakout. The bi-weekly got the retest. You've already SR flipped the all-time high into support, already putting in bullish candles. So if it can't break out from here, that'll be really a telling sign for me. But everything is pointing to continuation. At this point now on the daily, it's looking primed. And going into like tomorrow or into later this week, I wouldn't be surprised if Tesla's trading into like 490. It's actually looking like this is the start of it. But again, that's not really saying you're going to go up to $600-$700 from here. I think you easily can just take out the high, go to 505, and then get a deep pullback. That would actually make a lot of sense. They get their higher high break, lines up with Bitcoin. And then, depending on what occurs, I believe with earnings and things like that will really matter here. Interesting, because yeah, the bi-monthly, I mean, you've seen pretty big moves up. This is closing in 25 days. Last bi-monthly, I mean, you went up pretty high before it closed. And that's why it's just going to be really crucial to see where this all closes. You've had 6 months of up only, literally, just up only on Tesla. GG on, people who bid here. Pretty insane. And honestly, the monthly did hold the 34. It just was like very volatile. It went all the way down 220. Hindsight, right? It's just like, wow, it's pretty obvious. That's pretty insane, actually. 2x from the lows off the EMA 100, off that bi-weekly. And so now it's like very important to watch for just a new high. You've gone up a lot. Pretty epic reactions from the levels. But you also see here, you do have a gap. I mean, you haven't tested that bi-weekly EMA 9, and you're just now into a new range. Like, you very easily can just play within here, pop up new high, and then come down. So just be very aware of that. Your trade, if you're bullish here, is going to really depend on us holding above that $415 region, staying above $436, and breaking out from 489. I know it seems like a lot, but it's really not. You just need to keep these highs into support, and ideally just not break specifically the most important October 2021 high. So if you can just stay above that, then you're not falling back within this range. It's a pretty nasty range. You can have all these lines here, but really if you just look at a range, it's like $415 extremity high, and then all the way down to here, it's like $215, $220 extremity low. It's like a macro range, but pretty nasty stuff. And well, it pretty much worked out nicely here. So, losing that in, what was that, 2, 4, 6 weeks, you went down 50%. So it's why it'll be very crucial to not lose that 200 or that $436 region, in my opinion, because then that'll just start really becoming like the beginnings of maybe something. And it's going to be hard because if you deviate down, lose 415, maybe you do retest this 2-week 9, but then that 2-week 9 does give you a bounce, but it just leads to another rejection down. Kind of similar. You kind of saw that here, just a bit where you just could just form that range. But overall, Tesla's very bullish, looking very good. I would not be surprised if it made a new high this week. And honestly, the daily is gearing up for that. Why it's gearing up? You have a volatility setup on the daily. Bulls are back in control after today's close. You can see you've lost the 9. You're opening up above it. So if you go back down to $436, you should be eyeing that zone for an opportunity. You're ideally using yesterday's low as your stop. And this should just hold as kind of that extremity low. You took out all the stops here, finally got the retest, got a nice spring reaction. And now at this point, there's just a nice move up brewing. It's about 9%. This in itself could be a whole academy long potentially. Now, for me to long this, I'll just want to start seeing this hold. Maybe one more retest, and then that's the reaction, because I'm unsure if you're just going to open and move up. But then again, that kind of is how she's been moving. Like right here, you just got the retest, and you just move up, spring, boom. And that was actually off the back of the EMA 21. You held that, moved up. Let's see. I thought there was another example where the 21 held beautifully. Oh, here it is. All right, so you held the daily 21. You came down, didn't hold the 9, held the 21. You can just see the reaction off that. And then look at it. This was also playing into the example I wanted. You got back above the daily 9, and then you just didn't really get a retest. You just went up and up. So segueing back to here, you can just see how violent this could get to the upside. Bulls have an easy objective, and this could be really an easy 9% move brewing. And you even have a volatility setup, all while daily volatility is confirming a breakout. But even here, right, you'd want a daily close above 38.2%. Maybe watch for the median for a retest. So could do like something like that, median retest, boom, up. And then that's still playing with the idea this is the low, and you can just bid around here. So I'm actually be looking for this setup, actually. It's kind of interesting. Lots of things pointing to maybe at least you're going to get close to that all-time high. If not break it, that's like an 8-9% move pretty comfortably, honestly.
Yeah, it's looking pretty good. Now, the one thing we got to know is today they're releasing FSD 14, which is supposed to be incredible. And then tomorrow there's going to be a new announcement, either a new cheaper car or the Tesla Roadster.
Yes, yeah. That's pretty important. I didn't know any of that.
Yeah. So the hype right now
brewing on the chart
then.
Yeah, I mean, a big move is brewing. Daily volatility is reset. So
yeah,
that is good to
usually
know.
whenever Tesla announces new stuff, they dump.
Exactly. Mr. Farjano, do you mind doing XRP right now so that you guys can go and then I'll stay translating both.
Sounds good. Let me share my
So we have
screen.
enough time and close it within the 4-hour time frame.
So then honestly, I just wait on Tesla, wait for all that stuff. I didn't have no idea that was all going to come out.
Yeah.
You have a setup. It looks very bullish, but now, I mean, that has to be a concerning factor. The fact that it looks very bullish on everything.
Right? It's like everything is so perfect right now. Yes.
Perfect.
Go long.
Right. Like, yeah, exactly. So just be cautious on that then.
Yeah. Thank you.
Alrighty, let's get started on XRP. So I'll do the monthly right now. So the monthly, after getting the close over the median on this previous month and the close over the 5 EMA, we are getting expansion off of that 5 EMA, moving towards our 38.2%, which we do have probabilities of hitting based off the close for the median. And that level right now sits at about $3.25. And if you look at our momentum is starting to especially flip back up, getting back over the moving average and getting very close to getting back into the bullish control zone. And if you look at momentum, we did take out this previous low while price made a higher low, giving us a monthly hidden bullish divergence, which will confirm with any close over $3.18. That will also give us a close, not quite, but closing over the 38.2%, but also give us a close over that wick high, which confirms our hidden bullish divergence. And I would be targeting somewhere around minimum of the 61.8% after that confirms, and that would be somewhere around $5.92, just below that $6 number that we have been talking about for the past couple of months. Maybe one day the prophesied $6 figure will be touched. And we are now getting volatility freshly starting to expand with momentum flipping to the upside. And if we zoom in on the jewel, it's kind of hard to see because the pink is right over it, but we are getting a buy signal now on the jewel, and it is flipping over into a light blue. Let's go into the 2-week. 2-week is now zooming, still over the flipped up and still over the moving average. Started to tick ever so slightly below the bullish control zone, but it is still over that moving average. And we are making a lower high right now because price is not making lower high in momentum. Because price is not making a higher high, there is no bearish divergence. And we are now resting right at this 38.2% after getting several closes above it. We want to see it continue closing over this 38.2%, but the price you want to see to get the breakout is going to be closing over this 50%, which lines up with this wick high right around $13. I mean, not $3.14, and that would take you up to somewhere around about the 78.6%, and that is what do you know, $6.31. Maybe not as high as $21, but I'll take $6. That's good. On the 2-week jewel, we are starting to lose the buy signal, and this is switching into a neutral. Currently, we do have the pink crossing below the yellow, and we have a projection of the bullish control zone, and we have loss of the bullish of the buy signal. It's more bearish things currently on the jewel than there are bullish things. The invalidation of that will be taking out the previous wick high. Weekly is also flipped to the upside now, with volatility now sitting at extreme lows, 6.69. That's a nice number. And the weekly jewel is now starting to lose the sell signal, flipping into a neutral. And we are just about to get a bearish cross with the pink about to cross below the yellow. Hasn't quite done it yet, but it's close. We are currently on the previous weekly candle, we rejected the median, but on this one, we opened above it. And as of now, we are getting the expansion off of that median towards our top 38.2%. We want to see if you're bullish is a close over that median, and then that would give us probabilities of going to this top 38.2% at around $3.49, just below our current all-time highs. If you want to see the breakout to around that $6 zone, you need to see a close over the 50%, and that level is at $3.77. Just going to all-time highs is not going to do it. You want to see, and preferably you want to see 2 weekly closes over $3.77, and that's what takes you into around that $5 to $6 zone. So to the 5-day. 5 days also flipped up on momentum with volatility expanding. It's higher lows. What is this close? $2.86 and $2.85. So we are making bullish divergence on the 5-day now, with lower lows, closing lows on price, with higher lows on momentum. And we close above this high is $2.99, and this close is $3. So we did confirm the bullish divergence with this previous candle close, previous 5-day close. And I would target a minimum somewhere around these previous highs, which is the all-time highs, and around the 61.8% off of that bullish divergence. And that would be the target as long as you are closing over $2.69. Very nice number. Today. Let's go back for a second. No divergence there. 2 days also flipped to the upside, getting very close and making it into the bullish control zone with volatility expanding and a fresh buy signal on the jewel. Let's zoom in on this momentum. And still a lower high, and no, ever so slightly away from getting bearish divergence. Currently, we are basing off of that 38.2% and expanding off of it. We want to see close over the wick high. Let's go into daily. Daily is getting a fresh silver cross, and we are getting a spring off of that silver cross. Although I want to see a close over the 50%, which is at around $3.06, and then should see a move into somewhere around our current all-time highs. Daily is very close to flipping back up on momentum too, right below the bullish control zone. And daily is about to give us a bullish jewel cross. 4-hour also flipped to the upside, getting previous 4-hour close over the median, approaching the 38.2%, which is around $3.06, same $3.06 level, same level basically across the board, around $3.06 to confirm the next breakout. And 4 hours giving us a fresh jewel buy signal. Now we'll go into the RSI. Quarterly got that close, maintaining over the 21 EMA on the Bitcoin pairing, and this is the first time that we've been holding over this Bitcoin pairing since the breakdown in about 2018, 2019. So it's a very significant change in structure that we're above something that we've been below for the past like 6 years. Monthly is now forming potential hidden bearish divergence, which will confirm with any close below about many zeros 2.496, which we are ever so slightly below right now. And we're very close to getting a silver cross to the upside on the monthly as well, which will confirm as well as long as we're closing over many zeros 2.1. Let's see that I can't see actually because we don't have, there's too many zeros. So even if that hidden bearish divergence does confirm, it wouldn't invalidate this silver cross. All they would do is just give us a move into that 9 EMA, which would end up playing out as a retest of that silver cross, and then likely we get some busting action from that. 10-week, nothing. Weekly, 5-day, nothing. Nothing there. Daily, nothing there. 4-hour, nothing there. 2-hour now has a fresh drive for bullish divergence on this previous close. That would give us a target of the bullish control zone. Can't tell you what number that is, but based off of our EMAs, I'd be targeting somewhere around the 55 off of that divergence, and that's many zeros 245. Now we'll check out the US dollar pairing. Nothing. 2-week currently has active hidden bullish divergence. It will be active as long as you're closing over a nice number, $2.69. And your next target is going to be the critical zone because you have tapped the bullish control zone now, and the critical zone is at $6.18. Nice number. Nothing. 5-day currently has active drive of hidden bullish divergence on the last 5-day close. That will be active as long as you're closing over Nice number, $2.69. Next target is the bullish control zone, which right now is at $3.69. Nice numbers across the board. And volatility is now at extreme lows, giving you or making the critical zone possible, and that number is currently at 584. 3-day nothing. 2-day hidden bullish divergence on the regular bullish divergence on the RSI also. Active as long as you're closing over $2.94, and that takes you to the bullish control zone, which currently is at $3.28. Nothing there. Nothing there. All right, and the hourly hidden bearish divergence has been invalidated. Let's go into momentum. Alrighty. Quarterly is still pointed up as long as you're closing over 90 cents, with volatility expanding from the lowest point ever. Monthly is freshly pointed up, maintaining the bullish control zone, and you're going to be pointed up as long as you're closing over $2.37. Dyslexia flipping these two numbers. 2 week is currently freshly flipped down, and it will remain down as long as you're closing below 317. OPM is that volatility is contracting, and that this is coiling up here near all-time highs before it busts. That's the OPM. Weekly is currently freshly flipped up with volatility now at 0%, and it will be flipped up as long as you're closing over at $3.15, which we are below right now. And we are maintaining, if we do maintain the flipping up here, well, it will be holding the bullish control zone. If we do flip down here, though, it will be a loss of the bullish control zone, and that will take us down to the bearish control zone, which likely gives us, at the minimum, a move down to $2.30. Let's go to 5-day. 5 days currently also freshly flipped up with volatility at extreme lows, just starting to, just starting to freshly expand on volatility, and we will be flipped up as long as we're closing over $3.08. So we kind of do need to expand sooner rather than later, or momentum will start to flip down. 2 days also freshly flipped up with a double dip of life, and volatility is now just starting to get into an expansion phase, and we will be flipped up as long as you're closing over $2.78. Daily is also flipped up with volatility in an expansion phase, and will be flipped up as long as we're closing over $2.89. 4 hour. 4 hour is also freshly flipped up, and you will remain flipped up as long as you're closing over $2.96, with volatility now freshly going into an expansion phase. I'm going to zoom in. You're making a higher low, and what is this close? This is $2.95, and this one is $2.95, same $2.95, $2.95.0, and $2.95.7. So it is a higher low. So no bullish divergence there. And 2 hours also pointed up with volatility expansion as long as you're closing over 296. So that looks like it's going to take you up to the next, based on low time frame momentum and volatility setup towards around $3.30, just below our previous or current all-time highs. Monthly. So on the Bitcoin pairing on the quarterly, you are maintaining closes over that 21 EMA, which is a very significant change of structure since the past 6 years from the breakdown in around 2019. And the monthly is now freshly flipping back up on both the Bitcoin pairing and the dollar pairing. And you're maintaining the bullish control zone with momentum flipping back up, springing off of that 5 EMA on the monthly, and you're going to be flipped up as long as you're closing over $2.37. and you have momentum, basically momentum flipped up with volatility expansion on all of your low time frames as well, saying that you're likely going to go spring from your monthly 5 EMA into somewhere around $3.30 to $3.40, right around our current all-time highs. And depending on your reaction there, which I do think we are going to maybe get a slight rejection, but eventually, and I think that's going to lead into a little bit of a higher low right around that area to baiting some shorts. And then I think it's going to do the XRP busting action and bust somewhere around $4.20 to $4.50. But that, I don't think it's going to stop there. I think the real area of consolidation is going to come from somewhere around $5 from that HPDR level and bullish divergence targets currently. And eventually, based off of the higher time frame bullish divergences, that target would remain somewhere around $6 to $6.20 on the condition that you get a weekly close over our current all-time highs. And I would prefer to see 2 weekly closes over that level. And the invalidation right now would be, let's see, let's zoom in. If you want to go for a tick basis, this price is going to be very low, about $1.90, or closing basis, a weekly close below $2.69. Very nice numbers. And either one of those two, and I think you're at a minimum going to get a move down to this 55 EMA right around $1.80. But what's going to be more likely at that point, but it's not going to be confirmed, is that you're going to retrace this entire dumps or pump and do its XRP thing and put an ever so slightly higher low, maybe at like 80 cents. The confirmation for this, though, is going to be getting a weekly close below $1.61. But getting those conditions is going to make it heavily likely that that will happen, and then you're going to hit that move down to somewhere around 80 cents. And it'd be very poetic to make our next bottom right around that 200 SMA, where we've always been, where we've been making our major bottoms on XRP for the past 3 years. Very in line with the trend, because 3 makes a trend. You've bounced from here. This was a major bottom before you bounced up. How much percent wise? 70%. So yeah, that was a very major low. And then from this one here, you bounced up 27% before testing it again, and then bouncing from this one another 54%. So it seems to be very significant bounces off that bottom. And I think somewhere around this area is going to be our next bear market bottom.
All right, perfecto. Well, boys, you're done. Bitcoin all-time high, a brand new one. Anything you'd like to say before you guys roll?
What's the Bitcoin price?
Oh yeah, 125,700.
It got
nice, and I'm long.
Oh, nice, beautiful. For me, no, just I'm watching the new range forming on Bitcoin. Possibly watching for a long after maybe that bi-weekly, for sure the weekly. And 123,300 is the spot for me. I'm watching that very carefully, and or the daily EMA 9, because we haven't retested the silver cross since we crossed. So that should just be like some easy money on the floor if we get to that point.
Makes all the sense in the world. Well, thank you, boys. Enjoy your time out there. Get some rest. I see you. And I'll see you on Wednesday.
Sweet. Thank you, boys. See you later.
Muchas gracias and hasta luego, muchachos.
Thank you. Have a good one. Bye, Cochiloco.
So, boys.
Adios.
And for everyone, this is where we're going to end the English transmission. It's over. You guys got a brand new all-time high on Bitcoin. Let's see how that develops. You guys saw Tesla and all these other things. I just want to say thank you very much for joining us today. And don't worry about it. I'm not selling you shit. Just enjoy it if you like it. All righty. Thank you.